within 5 minutes, we are going to start with our next session with our next speaker, Dr. Gunwant Yawla, sir.
Hello, I'm audible? Dr. Ashutosh? Vaidya Ashutosh, I am audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Can I share my screen?
In 5 minutes, sir. Can you just share your screen?
What?
Can you please share your screen, sir?
Yes. I am sharing screen.
Yes, sir, it's pretty clear.
Sir, can you please share your presentation screen?
Yes. I think I am audible as well as my screen is visible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can I start?
Sir, yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Just give us a 5 minutes, sir. We'll start your session.
Okay. Yes.
Chetan, can you please mute to everyone? Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So yes, we are going to start our second session with our next eminent speaker. So it is honor for me to introduce our next eminent speaker, Vaidya Gunwant Yawla, sir. He is a principal and head of department of Kai Chikitsa at Dr. D.Y. Patil College of Ayurveda and Research Center, Pimpri, Pune. Sir is a director of International Academy of Ayurveda, Pune, India. He is MD, PhD in Kai Chikitsa from Pune University and MA in Sanskrit. He is having 20 years of teaching experience and a post-graduation teacher guide. He is recognized PhD guide in Kai Chikitsa of Maharashtra University of Health Science Nashik, Tilak Maharashtra Vidyapit, and Dr. D.Y. Patil Vidyapit, Dame University, Pune. He is a board of studies member of Maharashtra University of Health and Science Nashik, Dean of Faculty of Ayurveda at Dr. D.Y. Patil Vidyapit, Pune. He is a visiting professor at Vedika Global, San Francisco, USA, and Suddha Dharma Mandalam, Brazil, Amayur, Lisbon, Portugal. He is a frequently invited and visited for lectures on Ayurveda at England, Germany, Portugal, Belgium, Spain, Dubai, and Israel. He has presented research papers in more than 30 national international conferences. 10 research papers are published in peer-reviewed index journals. He is a reviewer of 3 national international research journals. He is the author of 3 books of Kai Chikitsa. He receives award of excellence at International Conference of Ayurveda, which was held in Dubai. He has completed research project on sickle cell disease in the capacity of principal investigator under EMR scheme of CCRAS, Ministry of Ayush, Government of India, New Delhi. Sir, now we would like to request you to please start with your session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Parvez, as well as Dr. Ashutosh and Vilas Nanal Foundation. I think it's a Nanal Foundation for organizing this particular webinar, as well as for my lecture related to Grahani Dosh. I would like to say that this is not a just lecture. This is we will give some time for discussion also. Or if the time doesn't permit, then we will give some time for the participants to interact with me afterwards also. And for that reason, I'm sharing my screen, and this particular screen contains my name as well as my WhatsApp number as well as my email ID. So today's discussion is related to the Grahani Dosha, and as this particular Febcon-2022, a national conference, the theme itself shows that resolving the conceptual complexes. So there are certain concepts which are documented in the ancient text, and we have to resolve these complexes. So very good, you can say, theme the organizers have chosen. And in this particular slide, you can see the picture of our Ayurveda Guru, Vaidya Vilas Nanalji. I had a very close connection with sir, and I was working at Sassoon Hospital as a residential medical officer in the Ayurveda ward, and sir was coming in that particular time for the giving consultation to the patients, to the needy can say patients. So during those 6 months, I learned many things, as well as sir has taken my Viva for the Charak Sanhita when I was doing graduation. So this is a very, these are very good memories related to the Vaidya Vilas Nanalji. So I welcome all the participants for this particular conference and for this particular lecture related to the Grahani Dosha. As Vaidya Parvez has already introduced me that I am principal of this particular institute, I am not going in detail, as well as I am director of International Academy of Ayurveda. We propagate Ayurveda across the globe in all continents. This is the residential Panchakarma center. I am consultant over there, Tanban. It's nearby Pune. So coming to the topic, as I have given 40 minutes time for this particular presentation. So without wasting time, I'm just going through what should be the flow of presentation of this particular Grahani Dosha. So we are going to discuss about the Ayurveda view related to Grahani, how Grahani is important. After that, certain etiological factors or hetu related to Grahani, what Ayurveda has documented in the ancient texts and what is the present situation. We are going to discuss that point. How to diagnose, what are the signs and symptoms, and after that, the most important treatment and management part of Grahani. So this should be the flow of presentation. So let's come to the main part of the presentation, that we know that there are Ashto Mahagada which are described in Ayurveda, means a group of diseases which are difficult to cure. And for that purpose, when it's something we are saying that difficult to cure, it is difficult to diagnose also. It is difficult to understand also. And for that reason, Vaidya should have a good knowledge of all these diseases. And while treating the patients, we should do the proper counseling of the patient also. Because there are certain diseases like Amla Pitta or Ajirna or the other diseases which are described in Ayurveda that can be diagnosed easily. There is no, you can say, second opinion is required, or there is no such a doubt. But in this particular 8 Mahagada or this particular group of diseases, we should be focused for diagnosis of the patient. Sometimes it may happen that we are giving certain kind of treatment for a few days, and there is a upashaya and anupashaya. We are checking that also. And if the person or the patient doesn't get upashaya, at that time we change line of treatment. At that time we think more. Also at that time we may give more importance for the proper history of the patient. We understand the proper lakshana of the patient, and after that we change the medicine, and after that the patient shows some recovery. In this particular point, I just mentioned about the counseling part. For these type of diseases, the counseling is also important, because we cannot cure these type of diseases, Ashta Mahagada, in a span of, you can say, 1 month or 2 month treatment. That requires a long-term treatment. And for that reason, we need the help of the patient also, because we are giving some medicines, we are giving some patya, we are advising him certain rules and regulations. But the patient should follow that properly. Patient should give a proper follow-up. And after that, it is possible for us to give a proper result to that particular patient. So at the end of this particular lecture, we are going to discuss one more case which came to my OPD and how I treated that particular case. It's related to Grahani. So Vata Vyadhi, Udarrog, Kushtha and Prameha, these are the four common, out of 8. These are the 4 Mahagada which are common in all the Samhitas. But there is a difference of opinion for other 4. And in this particular slide, you can see the Grahani, which I marked in red font, that Bhagavata has only mentioned Grahani as a Ashtamahagada. Otherwise, there are certain other diseases which are described by the Charak Samhita and Sushruta Samhita. But considering the time, you can say the time period of these textual references, Grahani, it is mentioned by Bhagavata. So, the problem related with the eating, the problem related with the not following the rules and regulations, the Gramyahara and all these concepts which are considered at the later stage. And for that reason, I think that the Grahani is mentioned by Bhagavat only, not by the Charak and Sushruta. But we get a good reference, we get a good, you can say, importance for Grahani in Charak Samhita as well as in Sushruta Samhita and the other compendium also. So, related to this Grahani, so this Grahani is included in 8 major diseases as I mentioned, and it is difficult to diagnose as well as difficult to cure. And for that reason, the counseling is very important. We know that Grahani and Agni, these are very correlated. Adhara and Adheya Sambandha is there. So Adhara is Grahani and Agni is Adheya. So Agni resides at the place of Grahani. I would like to mention here that in the 80s, 1980 to 1990, there was one, you can say, a gathering at the Nashik, and they have decided certain points which are contradictory, and all the Vaidyas, those who were present over there from Maharashtra as well as from other states also, they come to the conclusion what should be the Grahani, how we will define the Grahani. And it was decided from Amashaya to Pakvashaya. This all part comes under the now nomenclature of Grahani. So Grahani is a disease due to the imbalance of the 3 doshas. As well as, this is very important, the structural weakness is very important. So the Grahani organ itself, Grahani avaya itself, it becomes weak. It cannot do its normal kriya. And this is very important that in Ayurveda, there are certain diseases as per the classification they have mentioned. So there are group of the diseases which are named when the structural imbalance is there, as well as the doshic imbalance, means the rachana is and the kriya. These 2 parts are problematic at that time. So these type of diseases are difficult to cure. For example, I can give you the Grahani, the Udara, these type of names, which are considered as Ashto Mahagada or which are difficult to cure. So in introduction, I would like to say that it's a Jirna Vyadhi. So there are certain, you can say, complications if the Grahani becomes weak, if the Agni is not working properly, if the metabolism is not doing properly, at that time, there are certain, you can say, lakshanas, which are related to the annadvesh, which are related to the ajirna, sometimes atisar. But Grahani, we can give a nomenclature once it becomes chronic. And it occurs in the, from the, you can say, the Amashaya to Pakvashaya in that particular part. So, Visheshana of Agni, Agni Dushti is very important. And for that reason, it's a Grahani Rog and Grahani Dosha. These are the 2, you can say, nomenclature which are commonly we are using. But in Grantha, if you go, you will find the nomenclature Grahani Dosha. So there is a structural imbalance, as well as after that the doshic imbalance, the physiological part or kriya part, it comes over there. So it's a disease related to the Annava Shrutas. And this is very important that if we just go through the statistics, we may found that 70% of diseases in the present era are related to the lifestyle diseases or non-communicable diseases. And this is a big burden, and Ayurveda can play a very important role in this particular part. There are new, you can say, generations which are coming in the field of Ayurveda. The new, you can say, admissions. There are students, those who are taking admission for Ayurveda. They should know these certain points, which are the, you can say, important points related to Ayurveda. How Ayurveda can be useful, how we can become a successful practitioners if we concentrate on these 70% of diseases. Because prevention as well as cure, this is possible because of Ayurveda. And for that reason, we have to propagate Ayurveda very nicely. I would like to mention here that this particular government, central government, is also, you can say, giving, you can say, importance to the Ayurvedic treatment, as well as they are supporting this particular Indian system of medicine. And we have to take up, this is a good opportunity to establish Ayurveda in our day-to-day life. So this particular Agni Rushti is very common, and it is because of the lifestyle, because of the changes in the rules and regulations related to the diet and nutrition. And there are increasing number of cases related to the Grahani or related to the GI tract disorders or Annavahashtotas. So Grahani Chikitsa is one of the most important chapter of this particular compendium, which is described in Charak Samhita, Chikitsa Sthan, chapter 15. And this particular chapter is placed before the Panduroga Chikitsa and after the Arsharoga Chikitsa. So Arsha, if somebody is having Arsha, there are more chances of Grahani. And if Grahani is there, there is a possibility that all the nutrients which are not, you can say, absorbed properly and which are not distributed throughout the body, and the dhatu portion is not taking place, and that causes the Pandurog. That causes the Balakshay, because we are going to see the when we will go through the Lakshana part or the signs and symptoms part of this Grahani, we may find that Balakshay is very important, and it is related with the Mausada. So we have to take care of this. We have to consider all these things where this particular chapter is placed in Charak Samhita. In Sushruta Samhita, Uttar Tantra, 40th chapter, Grahani is considered as the 6th kala. That is the Pitta Dhara Kala, and which is situated in the Pakva Amashe, means intestine and stomach. And Agni resides in the Grahani. And hence, if Agni is vitiated, Grahani also becomes weak, and that is the structural, you can say, problem related to that particular thing. So many diseases of present day are specific to Kala concern also. So we have to think, while giving the treatment, we have to consider the concept of Kala also. That is usually what happened, we understand or we learn this chapter in the Kala related to the, you can say, anatomy or Rachana Sharir subject, and we forget this particular concept of Kala. So here I have mentioned that Grahani is related to Pitta Dhara Kala, Durmedas, or the obesity. This is also a lifestyle disorder. So this is related to Medodhara Kala. Infertility is related to the Shukradhara Kala. Then Mamsadhara Kala related musculoskeletal problems. These are very common, which we term as a Vata Vyadhi. This is also very common. And the Purishadhara Kala, usually the irritable bowel syndrome and all those things, that comes under the Purishadhara Kala. So enumeration and examination of functions of Pitta Dhara Kala. Here, the 4 functions which are mentioned related to Grahani or Pitta Dhara Kala. That Annam Gruhnati means the food they have to collect from the previous organ. Annam Gruhnati. Then Pachati means digestion. And the third one is Vivechayati. So there should be a separation of the nutrient as well as the Purisha. Then Munchati. Then that has to be passed very nicely to the next organ, so that the Purisha can go, it can be eliminated nicely. At the same time, the nutrients should get absorbed properly and the Dhatu portion should take place. So these are the 4 functions of this particular Grahani organ or Avayav. And if there is a problem, all these 4 functions are disturbed. So Anna, which is not taken properly, it is not digested properly, it is not separated properly, as well as it is not given in a certain, you can say, consistency to the next organ. And for that reason, we can see sometimes it is mentioned in Grahani that sometimes there is a loose motion, sometimes there is a Kvachit Baddham, Kvachit Dravam. And this particular thing happens means repeatedly. And at that time, we consider that there is a problem related to the Grahani or Grahani Dosha is there. And before going to the next concept, we have to consider or we have to give importance to the Dehagni. Because the concept of Agni in Ayurveda is very important, which is missing part in other pathies. And we know these particular verses very nicely that Sarve Rogapi Mandagna. And all these diseases are related to the low digestive fire or the Dehagni is not proper. And for that reason, there is a problem related to the tissues. So what is the function of Agni? Ayur Varno Balam Swastham Utsaho Upachayo Prabha. Ojas Tejo Agneha Pranash Chokta Dehagni Hetuka. So longevity, complexion, strength, good health, motivation, growth, ojas, body temperature, all these are related to the Agni. And if this Agni is not working properly, which is become a major cause of, you can say, lifestyle disorders or non-communicable diseases, so there is a problem related to the Grahani. As this Agni concept, we are getting this particular knowledge from in different part of our graduation. We have to use that concept while practicing also. I have seen many Vaidyas, those who are practicing in Pune or in the other part of the state, they are giving first 3 days or 5 days, any kind of patient, when the patient comes to them, they give the first consultation, they ask few questions. After that, they give 3 days or 5 days or 7 days of medicine as per the condition of the Agni. And after 3, 5 or 7 days, they ask the patient to come with empty stomach. After that, they check the pulse or Nadi Pariksha is there. And after that, they come to a conclusion what kind of treatment is required, what is the diagnosis, what is the Prakriti of that patient and all those things. And what is the Vikruti, of course. And after that, they give a proper treatment for that particular patient. So this concept is also very important that Amapachan or Agni Dipan should be there before treating any case. So 3 states of digestion and provoking dosha. I am not going in detail of that, but we should know that in the first stage of digestion, the Madhura rasa is there and the kapha is, you can say, produced. In the second part of the digestion, the Acha Pitta, which plays an important role, and Amla taste is there. And in the last part of digestion, Vata is, you can say, produced, and the Katu taste is there. The second part, which is related to the digestion, which we should give emphasis, that is related to the Pancha Mahabhuta Agni. I'm giving emphasis on this particular thing that there are certain concepts related to the water intake. Jal kaise pina chahiye, isse related. There are many, you can say, concepts. There are many messages on WhatsApp. There are many, you can say, self-guru, you can say. They are giving different ideas related to the water, how to drink water and what kind of water we have to drink, as well as what, you can say, how much quantity we have to drink and when to drink. So there are, you can say, the concepts, different concepts, but this particular theory is very important, that Pancha Mahabhuta Agni. So if you are drinking 4 liters of water every day and the winter season is there, that much water is not required. So that ultimately causes the Agni Manda. And that becomes a cause for disease also. So there are certain, you can say, alerts or the alarming points which are given naturally in our body. If the water is required in our body, there is a signal of Krishna. If the food is necessary, there is a signal of Kshuddha. If the sleep is necessary, there is a signal of Nidra. So these type of signals are already placed in our body. We have to respect that. We have to respect Agni. I always use this word, respect your Agni. That is very important. And it is related with the Pancha Mahabhutas. So if our body needs water, we have to go for the water. And what kind of water, all those things are different. What quantity is needed as per the season, we can say. So this Pancha Mahabhuta Agni concept, we have to consider while treating the cases of Grahani also. The third phase is related to the dhatus and all those things. So as I mentioned, the nutrients, which are absorbed, they are transported to the seven dhatus, and there are different, you can say, nyaya related to that, Kali Kapotnaya, Kedar Kulyanaya, and all those things. So this is not my part of the lecture, but we should consider this part also. If Grahani is not working properly, ultimately the tissues are not getting a proper nutrition, and we have to take note of that Sapta Dhatuvagni also. So related to the Grahani dosha, there is a one particular shloka, yohi bhukte vidhim tyakva grahani doshan sa laulyat labhate shigram vakshante tam vakshante taha paramtu. So not following the rules and regulations related to the diet, related to the food and nutrition part. This is very important, because if you go to the industrial area, in 1970 and 80s, they were giving 2 hours break for the lunch. After that, as the industrialization is increased, they are reducing the lunch break. They come to 1 hour. After that, they are coming to half an hour. Now, there are many, you can say, the software or IT industries and the other industries also, they are giving a very small break, or sometimes they are advised that you can take the food at the same time you can work also. So that is not good. That causes different, you can say, problems. So this is the one aspect related to the rules and regulations. There is another aspect, that is Ushnam Ashniyat, Snigdham Ashniyat, Matravad Ashniyat. So there are many rules and regulations which are not followed in our daily life. So that becomes a, you can say, center point for the Grahani dosh, and that we have to give a proper counseling to the patient while starting any type of treatment or management. Here they have mentioned one more thing which I have to highlight, that is the greediness, that is laulyat labhate shigram, means greed for food. Because nowadays multiple food items are available, ready to cook things are available, and if we are not hungry but still we are eating. If we are taking a tea along with some, you can say, bakery products in the morning, after that half an hour or 1 hour we are taking breakfast, after that we are going to office, then again taking tea, coffee or something, nowadays green tea and all those things. After that the lunch, then evening snacks, then again the coffee, tea and all those things. When coming back to home, then again evening small snacks or something is on the dining table, we eat little bit, then the dinner, then followed by dessert, and sometimes some people, they go for the milk and all those things also before going to bed. So that makes a huge problem. If our body doesn't need, and if we are taking the food, that becomes a poison. So respect your Agni, that is very important. If you are hungry, then eat. If you are thirsty, then take the water. So there are different diseases which are described related to Grahani and before Grahani also. That is, these are the few things, that Anna Visha, Ajirna, Vishamagni, all these things, we have to take care of all these things. So eating habits and Grahani Rog. So eating habits are disturbed or changed or altered. Physical activities are less. There are certain cases, those who are using the bedroom, means the air condition is there. The car they are using, that is also air conditioned. The office space, that is also air conditioned. So out of 24 hours, almost 20 hours, they are in an AC room. So there is no, you can say, hunger, there is no thirst. But still, if something, the intake is going on, that makes the problem. So the physical activity is also very important. And rest and sleeping pattern, that also important for digestion purpose. If you are not taking a proper sleep, if you are sleeping late night at 1 o'clock, and if you wake up at 5 o'clock for the health, if you are going to gym, if your previous food is not digested, if you didn't get a proper sleep, that is not useful. So there should be a requirement of a proper sleep from 10 to 2 at least. This is the golden hours. These 4 are golden hours for sleep, and we are missing that particular thing. So these all issues related to our lifestyle, making some problem, making some changes in the function, and that for that reason the Grahani becomes weak. The structural changes are there. and it is not possible to digest properly. Of course, there is no proper nutrition and there is a balaksha. So avoiding the frequent meals, the fat-rich food, junk meals, and all those things. So these are all are related to the, you can say, a present-day lifestyle. I am going to that part also, what is mentioned in Sahitas, but this is also very important. And for that reason, I would like to mention here for all the listeners that we can prepare a chart. We are doing the financial audit in the March end. Likewise, when the person related to Grahani Dosh, or if you think that this might be a Grahani Dosh, at that time you have to prepare an audit of his food also. You have to give a certain chart and he has to write down for next 3 months, he has to write down at what time, what quantity he is eating. And if you place all those things over there, and if he comes to you after 1 month, then you can, what is unnecessary, why you have eaten this, all these things, you can make a red mark and you can give back to that particular person that these are the few things you have to change, all those things. So the causes of vitiation of Agni, which ultimately becomes a cause of Grahani, Abhojanat, Ajirna Bhojanat, Vishamashanat, Asatmya, Guru, Shita, Atiruksha, Sandushta Bhojanat. So excessive fasting, excessive food intake, overeating, we can say. There are binging. There is one more concept. Indulging in food which is heavy to digest, then chilled or frozen food, dry, excessive dry food, or contaminated food. So these are the few things. Also, there is a possibility if we are going through the certain procedures of Panchakarma, and if the patient is not following the Samsarjan Kram properly, because many times this happened that Purva Karma is properly, you can say, checked. Pradhan Karma is also checked by the physician. But the Samsarjan Kram, we are just giving a piece of paper and we are saying him to follow these things. But the patients, due to the lavlyat, as I mentioned, due to the greediness, and this is very, you can say, possible things for all the patients, that they doesn't follow the Samsarjan Kram. And that becomes a cause for the Grahani Dosh also. So Vamana, Virechana, and Snehapan, we have to check these things very nicely. Then emaciation due to the other diseases, that becomes a cause for Agni Dushti. Sudden migration to unsuitable place, unsuitable time or season, that is also one more thing. I can speak on this particular each part very nicely, but as the time restriction is there, I'm just mentioning some things, just a passing comment on that particular thing. Suppression of natural urges. This is mentioned in Ayurveda, but we have to take care of this particular part also. Means we have to ask certain questions very nicely, because what type of question you ask, that should be an open-ended question. The patient should come up, the patient should speak more than you in consultation room. A doctor or Vaidya should be a good listener. This is very important thing, because if we listen, then the patient will give a proper history. Then Manas Vyadhi, this is very important. The depression, anxiety, these are the two important things. That also plays an important role in Grahani Dosh. Because if you are psychological imbalance, that causes or that hampers the digestion, that causes the weakness of Agni. And ultimately, if this becomes a habit, then there are chances of Grahani Dosh. So there is one concept in modern science, that is psychosomatic diseases. So the psychological disturbance is there. After that, the somatic means the physical structure is disturbed, and there are certain kind of diseases. So Grahani is also coming under that part. So there are also some, you can say, as I mentioned, that this is also a very important thing, that some patients, they have an allergy. Actually, allergy, this word, if it is not possible for you to diagnose, then the modern medicine persons, they show or they put this remark, that is allergy or sensitivity. So the gluten allergy or sensitivity, lactose allergy or sensitivity. And if you go through these particular lakshanas or symptoms related to the gluten sensitivity, you may find all these are related to the Grahani Dosh also. So the Samprapti is very simple. Nidana Sevan is there. Mandagni is happening due to that. Ama Dosha is there. Means the proper digestion is not there. Then Pittadhara Kaladushti is there, Grahani Dushti after that. Then Pakva or Apakva Anna Nirharan from Adhomarga. And for that reason, Purisha Parikshan is very important. Sometimes they have more gases which are having a smell. At the same time, the Ama Mala or Ama Sama Purisha is there, and the Grahani happens. So this is a simple Samprapti, but while treatment, we have to consider all these points. So Samprapti Bhanga should be there at the Nidana level. Samprapti Bhanga should be there that we have to give certain treatment for Mandagni. Then Ama Pachani should be there. At the same time, we have to give importance to the Grahani organ and as well as Pittadhara Kala. So there should be certain medications which will give you can say a boost to that particular organ, and ultimately there will be a good result. So we can ask few questions that, so I'm not going in detail in my, you can say, just talking, you may have gone through all these points, but how is your bowel? Loose, watery stool, or repeated passages, mucus is there, difficulty is there, colic is there. All these questions we have to ask nicely. At the same time, we have to ask certain questions related to the food. So the Purva Rupas are there: thirst, alasya, balakshay. Balakshay I already mentioned, that is the weakness. Nutrition to the mouse dhatu. Anna vidaha, burning sensation. Then pakascha chirata, that is the delayed digestion. And we have to ask certain questions related to this. That if you take a food, after what time, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, you feel hungry. Usually it should be between 3 to 6 hours. Then kayasya gauravam, this is due to the samata, that is heaviness in the body. Then samanya rupa are there, chuna padakara, then krushata is there, parvaruja is there, laulya is there, trushna, chardi, jwara, means mild fever. If the samata is there, the patient says that when after doing all this work, I am fresh, but when I come back to home in the evening time, I feel certain kind of fever. Or if you count that, there is no fever. It ranges between 97 to 99. But the patient feels feverish. That is mandajwar, or you can say the prachiti is there, jwara prachiti is there, arochaka is there. Then daha, udgara, praseka, mukha vairasya, tamaka, aruchi, all these are samanya rupa. Now we are going to Vishesha Rupa, that Vatajagrani. I would like to mention here that Vaidya Ramesh Nanalji from Mumbai, he published Madhujivan, this particular Anka or the print magazine related to Ayurveda. And there are certain Visheshanka, means the special, you can say, issues related to that. So Grahani Visheshanka is there, and all these 50, you can say, Lakshanas which are well described over there, and how we can think related to this particular Lakshana. This is very nicely mentioned in Madhujivan. But there are certain Vishesha Rupa related to the Vataja Grahani, that is Pachyate Dukkham, Shukta Paka, Tharangata, Kanthasya Shosha. Then Visuchika, Hrudaya Pida, Karsha, Daurbalya, and there are many. Vishesha Rupa related to the Pittaja Grahani. Here, there are certain things which are mentioned in Ayurveda, that is Ajirna, Amla Udgar, Rutkantadaha, Aruchi, Trushna. So there is a possibility that the patient is related to the Pittaja Grahani, but we are treating him as only Amla Pitta. No problem. As the patient is showing improvement, no problem. So we can give a different name. But consider that there is a difference, that Amla Pitta usually we give treatment for a short period, or if the Jirna Amla Pitta is there, we may go for the long period also. But we have to give certain Rasayana Aushadhis after treat, you can say, the managing the patient nicely, related to the medicines which gives the bala to the Grahani organ. This is the difference, and for that reason, there is a possibility that in Pittaja Grahani, or there are certain cases which are having the duodenal ulcer or gastric ulcer, that also comes under the Pittaja Grahani. Kaphaja Grahani, so mucus is there, Digestion occurs with difficulty or lately. Rullas is there, Chardi is there, Arochaka is there, Asya Madhurya is there. Then heaviness in heart. And all these lakshana, if we keep a chart in front of us, and if we ask very nicely all these questions, then it is possible for us to differentiate Vataja Grahani, Pittaja Grahani, or Kapaja Grahani, or Sannipatik Grahani, if all the three doshas are there. Then there are two more types which are described in Madhav Nidan, that is Sangraha Grahani as well as Ghati Yantra Grahani. So if that particular becomes a chronic problem, then we can give this name. Or Ghati Yantra, if the Vata is more, and that is the Shula is there, or Vataja Dhvani is there, then we can give the name Ghati Yantra Grahani and all those things. So the prognosis of Grahani dosha is Krushna Sadhya Vyadhi. And for that reason, as I earlier mentioned, that we have to take a proper history, we have to diagnose properly, and we have to do a proper counseling. And if the counseling is proper, then it is possible that the patient can take a proper treatment, and it is possible for us to give a good result to that particular patient. So in Madhav Nidan 26th chapter, there are certain asadhya lakshanas are mentioned, and the asadhya lakshana of Atisara having close resemblance with this particular thing. It is also mentioned that if this grahani occurs in the childhood age, there is a possibility that we may treat very nicely those cases. And for that reason, because of it is possible that there is a Vivardhamana stage. And for that reason, the grahani can be overcome in this particular age easily by giving a proper treatment of Ayurveda. So there are certain list of, you can say, diseases according to the modern medicine, which we can or which are having a close resemblance with Grahani dosha. So that is irritable bowel syndrome is usually, or sprue is usually correlated. Tuberculosis, that is extrapulmonary abdominal tuberculosis, or peritoneal tuberculosis is there. There are certain cases related to dysentery, amoebic as well as bacillary dysentery, colitis, ulcerative colitis, or ulcer, duodenal ulcer, gastric ulcer. So all these actually comes under the broad aspect of the Grahani dosha. So it's a broad aspect is there. But if somebody is treated by any modern physician on this particular topic, we can think for Grahani dosha. So there is a major, you can say, connection with the Swastha Vritta. Usually what happened, this Swastha Vritta subject, we have to use in our clinical practice very nicely. We have to read again and again the Swastha Vritta, so that we can learn or we can have a proper idea of Swastha Vritta, and that is possible then that we can pass this message to our patients or in the society very nicely. That is Achara Rasa and code of conduct. This is very nice actually. This is the requirement of today's, you can say, present time. Then follow certain rules related to food and nutrition. This is very necessary. Use of spices very nicely. There are certain spices. The chili powder, which is used very profoundly in all the dishes, but this is not required. We have to use spices to make it hot, that particular food. Then follow Dinacharya, Rutucharya. This is also important. 12 per day Surya Namaskar and meditation. This we can advise to the Grahani patients. Then Aushadikal, this is not related to the Swastha Vritta, but as I mentioned over here, that Apana and Samankal, these are the good time for giving the medicines for the Grahani dosha chikitsa. We can change all those things, but usually Apana and Samankal, that is just before starting the principal meal or in between finishing the meal, means that particular meal, the half part we have eaten, then we have to take medicine and then we have to finish the meal. This is a good time. So there are certain, you can say, Pathyakar Ahar. As I mentioned that before, usually the Pathya and Apatya is mentioned in treatment at the last, but I have mentioned it earlier because this problem is related to the food and diet and nutrition. So we have to start our treatment with proper guidance to the patient related to the diet and nutrition. And for that reason, I have mentioned over here everything, but I'm not going in detail. But there are chances that there are few families, those who are giving importance to the bakery products. This is not good. Fermented food, this is not good. The stale food, which is not good. So these all things we have to remove. At the same time, what he has to eat, that there should be a proper list. That the Dugdha Varga, sometimes there is a lactose allergy or there is a chances. So we have to consider that also. Then Jala Varga, I would like to mention over here that usually we ask the patient, for Grahani patients, to drink only the warm water, or so for that reason the patient is putting the, you can say, water in a vessel and just start boiling. Once the boiling starts, he stop and then he put it in the jar. But that is not good. We have to give 20 minutes for boiling so that that water becomes, you can say, lagu for digestion. As I mentioned about the Panchamahabhuta Agni, so that particular water intake, if it is boiled for 20 minutes, then we can put certain kind of herbs if it is required while boiling. We can put the gold ring also, so that that can become a Suvarna Siddha Jal, all those things. So I'm not going in detail of this particular thing, but this is very important part. In Chikitsa Tattva, it is nicely or very clearly mentioned that Ajirnavat Upchare or Atisar Chikitsa, the principles which are applied for Ajirna and Atisar can be applied for Grahani Dosh. Then Langan and Pachan should be there. That for that purpose, we can use the Panchakola Yavagu, Peya or use of Panchakola. Panchakola means Pippali, Pippalmul, Chavya, Chitrak and Shunti. That can be used nicely. We are just giving importance to the ready-made preparations which are available in the market and just giving them to the patient. This is common thing. We are not giving these type of advices related to the food and the other, you can say, preparations, but we have to give while treating the Grahani dosha. Then Agni Pradipti, that is the Siddha Ghruta, medicated ghee, which we can use for this particular purpose, so that it can give a strength to that particular organ. At the same time, the Agni Pradipti is also happening. Then related to Vataj Grahani, we can use the Bilva Churna, Kutaja, or Shunthi plus Mocharas with ghee and sugar candy. That is the sugar we can use. Jati Phaladi Churna can be used very nicely. We can go for the Panchakarma like Snehana, Svedana and Nirvavasti if it is required. Malavashtamba is there. If Rukshata is there more, at that time in the Ashaya or Koshtha, at that time we can give Anuvasan Basti with the medicated oil. The oil should be medicated with the herbs which are having the Amla Rasa mainly, and which can be act as a for Pachan and Deepan also. Related to Pittaja Grahani or Pitta Pradhana, we can use Dadima, pomegranate, Kutaja, Jambu, Nagaradi Churna, Bhunimbadi Churna or Kiratadi Churna we can use. Praval Panchamrut, Shankhavasma can be useful. We can plan for Virechana also. If Pittaja Grahani is there, but Amashe Dushti, if you think that it is more and the Kapha Dosha is also Lipta, so at that time we can give Vaman also in that case. But usually Virechana can be used. We can use the castor oil plus Shunthi Churna or Shunthi, you can say, decoction for this particular person. If Kaphanubandhan is there, at that time we can go for Vamana. For Chikitsa for Kaphaja Grahani, that is Bilva, we can use Pippali, Bhallataka, Chitrakadi Gutika. There is a good list of medicines which is described in Charak Samhita in 15th chapter, Chikitsa Sthan. Madhvarishta, Madhukasa or Mulasa can be used. Chara Ghruta or Shatpala Ghruta, that can be used because it's a Ghruta, but it is medicated with Chara. So it is useful to reduce the kapha as well as giving strength to the Grahani organ. If kapha is aggravated more and Rullasa is there, at that time we can go for Vamana Chikitsa also. For the Vaman, we can use the Yashtimadukvat along with Pippali also, or we can put in the Chatan, we can give Vacha also and Senda. This is very important. Usually this is taught in all the UG classes, that Parpati and Grahani, because the disintegration of Parpati takes place at the Grahani level, and so that it can act on that organ very nicely. This is very true. But while preparing the Parpati, they have mentioned that cow dung, that should be used. On the banana leaf, we can put all this hot material and below the cow dung. Cow dung is having a maximum content of bile, and that particular thing is absorbed through the pores of the banana leaf, and that particular thing comes in the Parpati. And for that purpose, that bile which is collected, you can say which comes in the Parpati, that can be useful treatment for Agni Dosha Nirmulan in this particular Rohini dosha. So this is one more thing. The second one is related to the disintegration of Parpati, as it is very Ushna, as well as the Parada Bandha is there. So that get released at that particular level also. So Nagarjuna was the first scholar who introduced Parpati in Rasendra Mangal in the 8th or 9th century. And this particular Parpati contains the Kajjali of, you can say, Parada and Gandhak. These are the two important, you can say, content of that, and the other things also. So there are usually the three types of Parpati which are mentioned. The Parpati containing only Kajjali of Parada and Gandhak, that is Rasa Parpati. Parpati containing Kajjali with one or more dhatus, the Loha or Swarna and all those things. The Panchamrut Parpati, Swarna Parpati, Loha Parpati, Vijaya Parpati, these are the few names. Then Parpati containing Kajjali and one more herb only, that is Bola Parpati. So there are very nicely we can use this particular thing. So here I have mentioned, or on the screen you can see, it is visible I think for all of you, about the Swarna Parpati, Panchamrut Parpati, Rasa Parpati and Loha Parpati. Which Parpati you have to use, that you can go as per the Ansha Kalpana of Dosha and all those things, what is required. But this is very good medicine and which we can use very nicely. Then Takrarishta. This is also important thing. Takram Shukrasya Durlabham. This is very good topic for discussion. Why it is Durlabh for Indra and why it is available in Prithvi and all those things. There should be a good discussion on this particular point. But we can use a buttermilk which contains the asafoetida, that is hing, or which contains the jiraka, cumin seeds. This can be prepared every day at home and that can be consumed very nicely by the Grahani patient, or it can be a pathyahar for all the persons. But in that case, if it is not possible, then we can go for Takrarishta. So this is a medicated takra, you can say, or medicated, you can say, wine. Yavani, Amalaki, Haritaki and Maricha is there, Pancha Lavana is there, and buttermilk is there, and it stimulates the digestive fire. And there are many, you can say, Gulma, Arsha, Krumi and all those things where you can use. The Krumi and Grahani, this is also very important part. We have to consider the Krumi microbes. There is a good, you can say, research is going on related to the gut microbes. We have to think on that part also. There are certain Purishaja Krumi as well as Sahaja Krumi which are mentioned in Ayurveda. These Sahaja Krumi are helping in digestion. And for that reason, the excessive use of antibiotics, steroids and all those things, that kills the Sahaja Krumi. So we have to take care of this thing also, that if there is a patient related to this, giving this type of proper history that heavy antibiotics he has consumed orally for more days. So in those cases also we have to think about the Krumi Kalpana, which is mentioned in Ayurveda. Then there are certain medicated ghees which we can use, like Dashamuladi, Panchadikta, Dadimadi Dhrut, Kutaja Ghanavati, Sanjay. These all photographs are just to mention the names only for understanding, better understanding of these, you can say, products, not related to any company. But Bilajil, Kutaja Ghanavati and Sanjeevanivati, this can be used as per the different avastha. Sanjeevanivati is a very good medicine. If you think that you are not a Grahani patient, but still if you are traveling, there are chances of taking different kind of water at different places. If you are doing a job of marketing and all those things, there are chances that you may eat at different places, either in the restaurant, either in some other places, not homemade food. So you can take this Sanjeevanivati as a precaution also. Bilajil is good. Then Grahani Kapat Ras, Chaturmukha Ras, Agni Kumar Ras. If Kapha Anugandhi or Kaphaja Grahani is there, at that time Agni Kumar Ras or Agni Sutaraja Ras, there is one more name, that can be used. Chaturmukha Rasa, it's a Suvarna Kalpa. We can use this particular thing if the patient is affordable, affording this kind of medicine. And the Grahani Kapat Ras is there also. Then Trikatu, Chaushashti Pimpali, Vardhaman Pimpali, we can use these things to give the strength to the Grahani organ. And this can be used, Vardhaman Pippali Rasayan. In this picture, you can see it. You can start with the 10, then increase every day 10. You can reach to the next level, and then you can reduce. So this is the 20 days. But at the same time, there should be close observance of the physician should be there. Bilwadi leha, Dadimao leha, Dadimashtak churna, or Bhallata kasav can be used nicely. This Dadimao leha and all those things. If the Pandu is there, if the Dhatu Sarata is not there, Dhatu portion is not done properly, in that cases, this Dadimao leha is very important or plays an important role. Madhukasav is there, Drakshasav, as I mentioned, Pippalasav, Panchakulasav. For the Agni, we can use for longer period. As I mentioned, this is a psychosomatic disorder. So Shirodhara plays an important role, or Navidhara also plays an important role. And this can be done every once in a week, or we can give a schedule to the patient. That can be done on continuous basis also for 8 days every month or like that. But this plays an important role in giving a good result to the patient. Also the Nabhi Basti and Udara Abhyanga. Every day we can ask the patient, if the castor oil is available, you can use the castor oil. Put just 1 spoon of castor oil in your Nabhi, in the umbilicus. Give a gentle massage to the whole Udara Pradesh, that is the abdominal area, and then you can go for sleep. This also helps. This also gives the strength to that particular Grahani organ. If castor oil, if you don't wish to use, you can use the coconut oil, plain coconut oil, what is available in your home, but you have to do it on regular basis. If it is required, if the gases are there, Admana is there, Vataja Grahani is there, if the Ghatiyanta Grahani is there, at that time you can give, you can say hot fomentation also by using the Tapasveda method also. Now I am coming to the last part of my presentation, that is related to a case study. So I have not disclosed the name of the patient here, but he is 42 years old. He is an engineer working at Pune, but he was born and brought up at Nashik. And he was having a complaint before Corona actually. From 2019 to 2020, he has some complaint like palpitation, frequency of passage of Purish 4 to 5 times in a day. And after food, after taking food, he has to go in the office and all those things. Sweating is also there. Palpitation is there, breathlessness is there. He used to go for walk in the morning time, but he has to sit in a 3 or 4 kilometer stretch 2-3 times. Most important thing is that he is having a bhiruta. Here I mentioned bhiru. That is he has a fear of that there is some problem related to my cardiac region because I have palpitation, I have sweating and all those things. And that increases the passage of the stool. When he feels that particular thing, the emotional imbalance, at that time, he has to go more times to visit the washroom. Then weight loss, hair loss, tension of work, back pain, and samata is there, lipta jivha. And he was consulting a different kind of physician. After that, he was trying to consult cardiologist because he has that particular fever. So he did all investigations with modern medicine, including the angiography also. After getting the report of angiography, he was little bit okay because there was no blockage and all those things. But he met to a cardiologist who is, I think that he is a genuine cardiologist because we are taking a preventive cardiology workshop together. And he is a good practitioner in Pune related to modern medicine as a DM in cardiac disorders. So he is Ayurved Premi actually. And in May 2020, in the Corona period, he referred that case to me. I started with Shamana Chikitsa, all the medicines. Then I planned for Basti and Virechan also. I did Shirodhara. Still he is taking the treatment. In last, you can say in May 2022, he is taking Ayurvedic treatment since last 2 years with me. I also asked him to do the Nasya. Then Hruday Pradesh Pichu, because he has a palpitation. So I asked him to put gauze piece which is soaked in the Narayan tel and to put it over here in the on the chest region related to or cardiac region for 10 minutes every day. Udar Abhyanga, I advise him. Nasya, I advise him, and along with the treatment. Now he's taking only 1 or 2 medicines only, but 90 to 95% complaints related to all these things are relieved. And this particular case is related to Grahani. And because of Grahani problem, he has frequency of passage of stool. Bhiruta is there, weakness is there. All these lakshanas which are mentioned in our Sahita are there. The back pain was there, and the palpitation was also there because Hruday Vikruti, or you can say the Rudrog, which is mentioned in Ayurveda, or Guruta, these all things which are mentioned in Ayurveda, all these lakshanas were there. But I treated this case related to the Grahani, and as I mentioned that we require long-term management for this type of cases as well as the counseling, and the patient is very happy. Every 15 days, he used to report to me without fail. And this is very particular important thing, that this particular follow-up, the patient, those who are giving, that depends on the prakriti of the patient also. So Vata Prakriti person gives follow-up, but that is not on regular basis. The Kapha Prakriti person, they give a proper follow-up. This is a good, you can say, research question for all of us, that we can do this particular study in our clinic also. So I think I just finished all the slides, and I covered, I tried to cover all the things related to Grahani in my this particular 40-45 minutes, you can say, time. I think Parvez, I'm in time, or
Yes,
I
sir, yes,
took
sir.
more time.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an amazing session. As I'm a student of DY Patil College, I did my PG from there. It always makes me feel proud to be a student of yours, sir. So once again, thank you, sir. As you explore diagnostic aspects of Grahani with special reference to clinical management, it was very informative, sir. Also, you explore various references from Sahita, Jirna Vyadhi, also its clinical importance, and various references you have mentioned, sir. Also, various medication formation, like for an example, various parpatis, Rasa Parvati, Amrut Parpati, and also you mentioned about Takra Arishta, Rasakalpa. So it was very informative and very useful session for all our students, our delegates and practitioners. Once again, a big thank you, sir, from Nanal Research Foundation.
Thank you.
Chetan, have we connected with Vaidya Ashutosh, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So moving to our next session, it is honor for me to introduce our next eminent speaker, respected Vaidya Ashutosh Nanal, sir. Sir is the fourth generation of Nanal dynasty, son of late Bhrutray Ratna Vaidya Vilas Nanal. He started to receive his basic training under the guidance of his father when he was in 10th grade. The basic of manufacturing medicine, bhatti, bhasmikaran, and other simplex to complex procedure were mastered by him at the very early age. He did his BMS from Bharati Vidyapit Pune, followed by post-graduation in specialization in diabetes and its complication. He has worked extensively on Jasad Bhasma and its role in management of diabetic neuropathy. He is working as a chief physician for different charitable OPDs run by Nanal Foundation in different areas of city. He worked with many prestigious organizations as a consulting doctor. Vaidya Ashutosh Nanal sir, along with his wife Vaidya Esha Nanal ma'am, are currently looking after Nanal Ayurvedic Chikitsalaya and Nanal Research Foundation initiative started by Vaidya Vilas Nanal sir. So without wasting time, now I would like to request sir to please start his session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Parvez. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible to us. Can you please
Yes,
share your screen, sir?
Sorry.
Can you please share your screen with us, sir?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Now we can see your screen, sir.
The presentation is clear.
Your presentation is clear.
Hello.
Sir.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Parvez, for a beautiful introduction. Today we shall be discussing about Pranavas and Rasadravya Chikitsa. Rasadravya Chikitsa is a vast topic and cannot be covered with any at a gross. Like different mercurial compounds are there, polyherbal compounds are there, herbomineral compounds are there, but most of them Rasadravyas where Swarna is involved. The kalpas are pretty expensive to use, they are costly. So we need to find alternatives or such substances or formulations which are very effective in a wide range or wide spectrum of for diagnostic and clinical purpose. So in today's presentation, I shall be taking Gandak as a chief drug, which we shall be considering, and applied aspect of Gandak, how it can be used, what are different methods of purification of sulfur, their merits, demerits, then couple of avasthas in pranavas. I won't be going in depths like Shwas, Kas, Hikka, but we shall be focusing orientation specific to hetus and how they influence and create symptoms in pranavas. So we shall start with Gandak. My presentation would be dedicated to my father and my forefathers, from whom I have inherited lot of things, and everything what I am today, my thought process, my thinking is I owe a lot to my forefathers. So owing them and giving them my prayers, I'll start with my presentation. Gandak. We shall be considering the Utpatti aspect of Gandak. Utpatti, it's if you will carefully consider Rasadravyas, like Parad Utpatti, they mention as it is Shiva Bij. So in particular conditions, the mercury was expressed as Shiva Birya, and which came into existence later on, and we find it as mercury today. Same, there's a story for Hartal is there, Manashila is there, or Vangadhatu is there, Nagadhatu is there. So in Gandak, particularly, there are two types of stories which find their mythological origin. First is that Devya Rajo Bhavet Gandham. The story goes in Rasaratna Samuchaya. It's somewhat like when Devi Parvati was on Shweta Deep. So she had her periods that time, and the cloth which she used, which was delivered in Kshirosagar, which later on converted into Gandak, and what is available today, sulfur, is the Devya Rajo Bhavet Gandham. The second thought which goes is, it is also called as Balivasa because the king Bali, who was Asur king, the Gandak was expressed from his Swed and consolidated into nature in the form of Gandak or sulfur, which is available today. Now, what importance does these hold? In a female physiology, if we consider, Rajas inherits all his qualities and everything from Rasadhatu of that parent physiology, while Swed is a Mala. So this mythological story tells us that Gandak has a primordial action on Rajo, Artavas Rotas or Rajas and Rasadhatu. So it begins its action from Rasa and it has its widespread action till Swedamala. It has actions on Mala, Mutra and everywhere. But primarily, if you say like consumption of Gandak in large quantities, if we do, the expression or the categoric smell which sulfur inherits, that can be observed in the sweat of that patient. We'll move on to next slide. How does sulfur occur? Sulfur naturally occurs in stone form. These are a couple of photos. I've been to Leh Ladakh. So during our transit on the roadside, we could spot these mine kind of things. We had collected a couple of samples also. So this is the actual sulfur which is naturally found in nature, and it is intended that this type of sulfur has to be used in production of our rasakalpas. The currently available Gandak, what we get in market, if we go for buying in this sulfur generally we get is which is a petroleum refinery byproduct. So it has to be taken like chemically. If you'll say this petroleum refinery sulfur is much pure as compared to what we obtain from the ore, the one photos which I have displayed over here. But this petroleum byproduct of that refinery chemicals which go there. So we have to make sure that we incorporate couple of additional safety measures and things so that it becomes more bioavailable and body or user friendly or devoid of any side effects. Gandak Shuddhi. Gandak any, as we know that Rasashastra, all the dravyas particularly focus on Samanya Shuddhi and Vishesh Shuddhi. Taile Takare Gava Mutre is a common protocol we employ for different dhatus, metals particularly. For non-metals, the methods are little different. Like in Gandak, particularly the most commonly practiced method is, we'll be discussing later, but what actually this Gandak Shuddhi or Shuddhi procedure imparts is basically getting rid of physical impurities. The substance becomes more bioavailable. In particular cases, when you treat that substance with any other herbal juices or similar juices, it becomes more acceptable inside the systems when administered locally. And it is possible that we can perfectly incorporate any specific properties that we intend in that particular formulation. So Samanya Shodhan and Vishesh Shodhan. Generally, Samanya Shodhan is practiced by many pharmacies and people who go ahead with production of different formulations on their own. But it is my personal advice that if you are manufacturing your own medicines and you want to have excellent results for your preparation, you should employ Samanya and Vishesh Shodhan protocols in every metal or mineral, whatever you produce. Gandak Shuddhi methods. The ore of Gandak is crushed and heated in a pan along with Gogrut. As the ghee melts, it's a very simple technique what we have so far learned in physics and chemistry, that it has particular melting point. Ghee has a particular melting point. If you'll do a dry roasting, sulfur will convert into gaseous state and it will evaporate and you have hardly anything in your hand. Or in this case, it might catch fire in the frying vessel. So ghee is employed. So a substance like ghee, the temperature has to be at an optimal range where the ghee will not burn, and it will give a medium for this sulfur which is trapped in the crushed ore to melt. Now, when Gandak gets completely melted, then it is poured into Godugdha vessel through a fine mesh cloth. Fine mesh cloth, it could be a single layer, 3 layer, 4 layer, so that the impurities of ore get trapped, and what we get, the residue is the finest quality of Gandak which can be readily used for manufacturing of different kalpas. This procedure, ideally, we recommend that should be repeated for 2 to 3 times minimum. 7 times is good. 7 is not a numerological figure. The logic behind 7 is that you have 7 dhatus. So Rasa, Rakta, Mausmay, Dasti, Majja and Shukra. So with every avartan and every process that you are enhancing, it goes on inheriting the additional properties from that cow's milk and basic milk. The prerequisite is that every time you should be taking a fresh quantity of ghee and not the same ghee which is processed earlier. In Gandak Shuddhi, we discussed, so there can be a question, then can it be the cold water it be used? Technically speaking, cold water can be used or even ice water can be used, but it will not have any additional properties which we can incorporate in this Gandak, which is in a transient stage. That is, first it is in solidified state in the nature. In a medium like ghee, it liquefies. So when it liquefies, it becomes capable of accepting any samskaras. Samskara hi gunantara dhanam uchyate. So it doesn't leave its basic set of properties, but it will inherit all the qualities from the substances along with which is being processed. So this liquid phase of transition is very important and plays a key role in processing of Gandha. So this gives us the concept of Vishesh Shuddhi. Like we can have variations in Ghrota and liquid that can be used for purification. The common Samanya is everywhere. Samanya and Vishesh Siddhanta are important everywhere. Samanya is Godukta, Gogru. In few places, Bhringarashwaras is commonly employed. But what is Vishesh about this? So Vishesh means it could be like Gogru can be replaced with Siddha Grutas like Mahakalyanak Guru. Now, Mahakalyanak from Charak Samhita, if you study, Mahakalyanak has a wide range of Rogadikar or disease curability. Particularly in Sannipatik Avasthas, Mahakalyanak works great. That is what is my personal experiences. So, in place of first one or two Shuddhis can be made using simple Gogruta. After that, that can be replaced with Mahakalyanak or Panchagavya for Majjagat Vikaras. Dashmul Siddha group for Vataspressic disorders, like if you want to employ, you want to go for manufacturing of any Swarnakalpa, Bhratvat Chintamani is there or Chaturmukh is there. So every Swarnakalpa essentially where Mercury comes, Gandhak inevitably is going to come. So depending on the target, what you want to achieve, you can have a specific process designed for your sulfur purification, and that will add a definitely different and remarkable efficacy in your Swarnakalpa as compared to any of the product which is readily available in market, because that goes with a generalization. And while if you prepare your own lot, generally what we do at our end, so we process sulfur, mercury in these particular manners. Same ways Mahatikta Grut can be used for Tvacha Vikas. I have given you the concept. There are a number of Grutas in Grani. You can treat it with Changeri, Siddhagruta or Changeri Swaras can be replaced in place of Godugdha. So after basic Samanya Shuddhi, further Vishesh can be employed the way we want that Gandhak should act in the body. Same cow's ghee can be different, replaced with different Kvathas. I would recommend, like I discussed earlier. So Bhringaraswaras for Tvacha Vikar, Brahmi Swaras, any Medhajanan Sanskar, Smriti Sagar Ras or any other formulations you intend to do on for in children where kapha dominance is there and kapha avrodhatmak, like memory loss or grasping power is lacking. So these rutis, medha, there are problems with that. Then Brahmi Swaras can be employed. Kantakvari Kvat can be used for pranavas rotas. Same goes with Bharangi alone. You can employ, or Bharangi Kvat if you want. You can employ that for purification of Gandhak. Gomutra is a basic, like Gomutra Charka has praised a lot in his Charak Samhita, and even in the morning session, Dr. Esha has also discussed the gunas of Gomutra. So it's basically Anuloman, Kafanuloman, Pitta Shodhan, and Vata Shaman. So Gomutra can be a drug of choice for Gandhak Shuddhi, for Vishesh Gandhak Shuddhi. Now Gandhak Shuddhi, it's a specific Gandhak Shuddhi what we have displayed over here. This is method yields you a purest form and very potent form of Gandhak. Damru Yantra I have shown here. In Damru Yantra, what is done? The Gandhak is triturated with any of the herbs that you intend to incorporate specific properties. The below earthen pot or matka, we would be placing there these chakrikas of Gandhak, and Kramagni would be employed for around 12 hours, depending on the quantity of Gandhak. The top vessel receives the sublimated quantity of Gandhak. It comes in a very beautiful needle forms. This has to be scraped later on, and this can be collected and directly employed. So this is like you are doing a distillation procedure with Gandhak. So almost pure and most pure form of Gandhak we can get. This is not generally employed by many pharmacies who are commercially doing production, as this procedure is quite time consuming. If you are not well versed with the Urdhopatan and these processes, there can be losses during this procedure. And secondly, the cost of production increases. But like in Rasadavyas, we say Bahmatropayogitvat and Alpmatropayogitvat. So very minimal dosages we can design drugs with. The more purer form of medicine we get, the dosages of the drug go really that low. Now in nature, something, if we find sulfur springs are abundantly found, I shall be sharing a video over here. This is a typical example of a sulfur spring where the underground flora or the underground mineral deposits are in such a way that this water keeps on constantly boiling. There are fumes which actually come from here, and inherently some part of silver or ground minerals get deposited or get incorporated in this water. So many places it is believed that, or people go, like people with skin diseases, go in such places and take baths. So the elemental sulfur which is trapped in this water interacts with your skin elements at tropical level, and with recurrent, like this won't happen in a single day, but if you do this practice for a couple of, say, 15 days, 20 days, there's a definite relief in the skin conditions, or skin health is grossly improved. So this is something naturally we can find, that sulfur is of great use. And these are found in many widely across India. We can find sulfur springs like this. This video is particularly from one of the regions in Leh Ladakh. Now, why Gandak? After so many things, why did I choose Gandak? Gandak, if you will see kalpas, like we discussed earlier, there are many different kalpas where Gandak is a primordial ingredient along with mercury. Kajjal is prepared out of them, and this kajjal is further processed for making the kalpa. But it is very rarely found that Gandak is singly used, or Gandak is just Shuddha Gandak somebody is using in his regular practice. It's a rare practice. Secondly, it can be very effectively and conveniently used singly. Low cost of administration. Why I am discussing low cost of administration, that we'll come to it later. Patient compliance. Gandak comparatively it's tasteless. It doesn't have any specific taste. It doesn't have any very gross odor. Like if Udvapatan and everything is properly done, the typical odor of Gandak vanishes to a large extent. It has a pleasing, appealing feel. It is appealing to eyes. Patient can easily chew it. Wide range of applications. Smaller dosage can be of great relief to patient. And when processed, gets potentized and inherits additional qualities very quickly. For example, Gandak Rasayan is the most commonly and widely used preparation. In this, Gandak is given 7 bhavnas each of around 6 to 8 dravyas, and last bhavna is of Godugdha. So almost 121 bhavnas are given to Gandak, and basic Gandak, Shuddha Gandak, which is there, gets completely transformed into a altogether different compound, which has very excellent Rasayan qualities. So it is called as Gandak Rasayan. It is a widespread, the Rogadikar of Gandak Rasayan is very wide. Generally, people tend to use in only skin diseases, but in patients of Andya, Shandya, then particularly my experience about Gandak Rasayan is where there is vitiation because of Viruddhahar, like milk and fruit. Shikran is a typical hetu. So in such cases, Gandak Rasayan yields great results. Be it any kind of samprapti, Gandak Rasayan can be a drug of choice we can actually depend upon. Now let's have a look at properties of Gandak. These properties are taken from different Rasa Granthas. So I would suggest that you should focus on the terminologies which are used by our Granthagaras. Here, if you will say, he says Agni Karini or Agni Janan. So in Agni particularly, if we see Agni Nash is there, Agni Mande is there, Vanni Nash is there, Vanni Hani is there. Everywhere Granthagaras have used different terms, or they have coined different terms to explain the graveness of, or actual vyapti of that particular substance. So Agni Karini is something where there is total Agni Hanan, and Agni has to be primordially, or Agni has to be regenerated or totally revived. Then that can be a drug of choice. Jathar Agnim Prasute. Agni functionality, if we will see, Charaka says that Saiva Agni Pittantar Gataha. So the Agni is a different element. Sharirastha Pitta, the Acha Pitta Srav is a different taste. These both of them get combined in the liver and they are jointly secreted as a Pitta or the secretions in the Amashay during Amla Avasthapat. So Jathar Agni Prasute. So the entity is existent at some particular srotas or level in the system. The facilitation process of or its facilitation in the system and it has to reach particular target. This activity is well coordinated and well facilitated by Gandhar. This is what is meant by Jathar Agnim Prasute. Maha Ushnavirya. It is one of the most Ushnavirya Dravya. Sumaduraha Paki. Being Ushna, it is of Madhur Vipak. So Madhur Vipak means it has, being Ushna Tikshna also, it has equally potent action on Saumya Bhava Padarthas like Rasa, Shukra. So it has a Saumya action over there. Katuras, Saragun, Ushnagun, Shodhan nature, then Vishaharatva. Gandak itself is counted as one of the poisonous drugs or mineral drugs. So Dushivish and Pranishvish, so their Gandak acts as a Vishahara karma, or even Garavisha cases also where there is slow poisoning, their Gandak can be of great help. But here we need to use a kalpa like Gandak Rasayan and not Gandak alone. Because in slow poisoning or a poisoning which is happening over time or Garavisha, the disturbances or dhatunash is at much subtle level, cellular level, srotas level. So there Gandak Rasayan or similar kalpa will be of a great help. Krumihara in different types of worm infestation may not be related directly to activity comparable to antibiotics or similar. Krumihara is Krumihara. Chakshuroga Vinayashak in association with other dravyas which are Chakshusha, Gandak can be of great help in Chakshurogas. Rasayan Karma, Adivyadi Prashaman. So these are a couple of properties Gandak that we should be actually focusing upon. Sharir Kriya of Gandak, if we say. Dosha Vilayan. Now what is meant by Dosha Vilayan? In a couple of slides ahead, we are going to discuss about what happens with Abhishanda. So Dosha Vilayan. Vilayan is a prakriya where the solidified corpus in our system gets liquefied or gets converted into a form which can be easily eliminated through a system. Like things happen when we go for before Vaman Virachan, when we are giving Sneha for Snehapan in Shaman Matra or Shodhan Matra. So in this particularly the Sneha Dosha Vilayan is there. So Gandak alone is capable of doing Dosha Vilayan and very potently. Shleshma Vilayan, same as the definition, Pleda Vinasham. It absorbs the excess quantity of clade or with its Mahaushna, Ushna Gunatva, Katu Rasatva, Saratva. It will modulate the consistency of clade which is existing in the system and it is going to either eliminate it through urine or through Sweda. Like Sweda Pravrutti could be increased or if some adjoining Mutral Dravya is given, it can eliminate through Mutra also. Rakta Samvardhan. Now inherently Rakta has, if you say Raktada, Visrata, Dravata, Raga, Spandanam, Lagudha, Tata. So almost all the characteristics of Gandak nearly resemble to the nature of Rakta Dhatu. So where there is a gross deficit of Rakta Dhatu proper, which is not formation issues are there. So Rakta Samvardhan Karna. Samvardhan, Samvardhan. It is Visheshatvena Vardati. So Rakta Samvardhan can be understood in this way. Sapta Dhatu Gamitva, as I earlier explained, from Rasa, Rakta, Maus, Med, Asti, Majja, Shukra, everywhere Gandak has the ability to percolate to each tissue and do the necessary functions. Trimala Gamitva, Purish, Mutra and Swain. Upadhatu Gamitva, in names also we have seen Rajas. Dhatumala Gamitva. So in Upadhatu and Dhatu Malas also Gandak can potentially reach. Like after consuming large quantities of sulfur, as I told ki, the typical smell can be felt in the sweat or in urine also. So that means Gandak has the ability to penetrate itself to the deeper layers. Chakshurog Vinashak we discussed. Kushtagna is a gun or prabhav karma of Gandak. Specifically, it works on all the skin diseases that can be seen on the left. We have mentioned as Claire Vinasham, and all the kushtas are almost Kleda Dushti Pradhan. So Kushtagna and Kleda Vinasham directly resemble. Garavishhara. Garavishhara is, I discussed earlier, it is the property of Gandak. Amon Mochanaha and Ama Shoshanaha. Now, Gandak is rarely used in cases of Amvat, but on Amvat patients, if you use Gandak alone with compound like Shuddha Marit Churna or Shuddha Karaskar is there, it can be of great help. At least particularly I use a formulation like Toshashta Pimpri. I use Marich in the same way. So the dosage of Marich and Marich goes as an adjuvant to any of the compounds. Dose of that particular medicine also drops down to a great extent. So Amon Mochanaha iti, Ama is a substance which gets stuck in the body and it is present everywhere in the system. So Amon Mochana is Gandak is going to trace it out, convert it into a form which can be easily eliminated. It is going to absorb a lot of gross molecules and convert them into subtle particles which can be easily eliminated. So that is meant by Amon Mochan and Amon Shoshan. So carefully observe and remember these terms, because when you'll come across any disease, these terms are going to guide which drug to choose. Next would be Pliha Vinashan and Adman Nashan. Pliha Vinashan, again, it has a gross reference with Rakta. Pliha Raktasrotas, one of the Mulstan is Pliha. So it has a remarkable action with Pliha Rog or in Pliha Vriddhi. Adman Nashan. Pranavasrotas. We have considered enough, given consideration to Gandak so far. Now let's study a couple of conditions with Pranavasrotas. Some principal factors, if we see, even if we'll go and study the hetus of Hikta, Shwas, Kas, and rest of the things, you'll find that Shita Guna, Abhishandi, Ajirana, Ashan, Atyashan, or Vishamashan. Then next hetu that we are considering, that tobacco, use of tobacco, Gutka chewing or Atirukshan. And the fourth would be Tikshna Padarthas. This particularly I am attributing to a chronic use of bronchodilators or different sprays which Tamak Shwas patients are using for long time duration. And when they particularly approach you, so this is the biggest challenge, that getting rid of these sprays, you have to employ a lot of measures, panchakarmas or shodhan, shaman, and after that, slowly you can help them get rid of these bronchodilators or inhaler sprays. So we shall be considering each of them now individually. Prolonged exposure to Shita Guna. Shita Guna exposure can be in both ways, like in earlier session, like Yevla sir mentioned, the person is sitting constantly in the AC for the whole day. So he is getting acclimatized to a particular temperature range where he is for the whole day. But that doesn't mean his body is supporting that or his body is not supporting that. It is about individual Vyadhi Kshamatva. But in generally, Shita Guna, vitiation of prana is there. So abnormalities related to Vikasan Karma can be observed, or people can exhibit or find these symptoms. This may not be an immediate case. This can be individual Vyadhi. So the disease development process can be a phase from maybe a year's time to it could be a 10-15 years time. So this depends on that particular patient to patient case. So vitiated rasa and rakta under influence of Shita Guna impart Sangha Pradhan and obstructive, occluding natural karma of prana, the immediate stages. So this type of vitiation we can get with Shita Guna in Pranavasrotas. We shall be shifting to next one. Now, how Gandak is going to interfere over here? Gandak can be used of like those people who have such habits, or those who are involved in such kind of occupational things where they need to involve themselves, or they are constantly in a AC temperature or server rooms. There you can employ them Gandak in a very small quantity. Gandak Rasayan can be a drug of choice. It can be, could be just 120, 100 milligrams. once a day, in Vyanka or in Udanka 2 times a day as per the requirement is. So Gandak in Ushnavirya, Dosh Vilayan, Amavinashan in nature also it has a Rasayan type of Dravya, Madhur Vipak and Katuras. Pranavayu, the usage of Gandak corrects the vitiated prana and starts improving the Vikasan function. Vikasan is anywhere the dilatation or entry of any Bhava Padartha is expected inside the Srotas. The governance is of Pranavayu. So with gross Vikruti of Pranavayu, this reflects on a entire body level or Mahasroto level that these changes can be observed. And Pranavasrota, actual effects changes their reversibility depends upon the duration of exposure to Hetu, like I discussed earlier. Still, uses of Gandak gives very good results. These may lead to Yapyatva in such cases. So Yapyatva or Sukhasadhyatva, these exactly depend on the duration of exposure which the person has faced. Now, prolonged exposure to Abhishanda. Abhishanda is what? The Abhishanda is a particular thing where there is a consolidation of different elements, body elements, conglomerated together in a system. It could be Kledh could be there, Kapha dosh could be there, Pitta could be there. And when they deposit in the system, simple example of Abhishanda is, for example, Lavandras or common salt. If we are living in a humid air, it tends to catch all the water from moisture and it becomes wet. Or Dadi, if you break curd, a lot of water releases from that curd. Till the time the curd is set, there is no separation of water is there. But the moment you break even a single piece or part of that, a lot of water would release. This is exactly what is Avishanda. So in Avishanda, Hetus, particularly in long run, body keeps on storing things such a way that they won't be released unless they get a precipitatory factor or Nimitta Hetu. Like in certain people, chronic or allergic rhinitis is tagged. What is allergic rhinitis? So depending upon receiving some favorable phenomena like exposure to cold wind or exposure to pollens or dust, this Avishanda or this Doshasante which is there pre-existing in the body, it gets partially released from there and the symptoms are expressed. So this is what is meant by Avishanda. There could be different grades of Avishanda, like in particular cases of some neural elements, some gliomas or tumors, they can be a resultant of Avishandi Aharvihar or typical Avishanda. Two simple examples of like I explained right now with chronic rhinitis. So Avishanda is something which is responsible for Dushti of Prana and Pranava Srotas. There can be lung elements also which are there, or at times hazy shadows are there or consolidations are there which are very difficult to tackle. They are also a resultant of Avishanda. We'll come into next Hetu. Ajirana, Sankiranashan, Atyashan, these typically generate ama. When there's Ajirana, you should not ideally consume any quantity of food. Sankiranashan is mixing all the food together, eating different types of foods in the same meal. So your body exactly doesn't know how to digest it, how to tackle it. So it actually forms a final purpose as ama, which the body is not able to utilize. So it gets somewhere stored in the system and things complicate further. So Annakarma Pravesh is somewhere compromised and Sampraptis do develop based on that. Again, Shuddha Gandak, Gandak being Vanni Janan and Kleda Shoshan, Ama Vinashan in nature. Also, it is Rasayan type Dravya and Katuras. Hence, when used in such conditions, like arising out of Santarpan and purification, it does it preferably Bhrungaraj. Like here, the Anupan for Shuddha Gandak can be Gomutra or Gandak can be specifically processed with Gomutra at the time of Shuddhi, and this can be administered later on in such cases. Gomutra is a miraculous substance and it works in cases of Abhishanda in a very great manner, and results are very quick, fast, and sunny. The use of Gandak clarifies avaranas by other doshas and vayu types, thus the suppressed pran starts improving, the improved Vikasan karma of pran enables the entry of many bhava padarthas within the sukshma srotasas and simultaneously the excretion of malas from the srotasas. So there is a cleansing process or detox at a very sukshma minute level, or malas get eliminated from systems because they become more potent in this case. So Gandhak cuts off binding adhesions like what we saw earlier. Chedan is also a property of Gandhak. So these bonds or minute bonds which are existing in the inner parts of the inner systems at Sukshma Srotas level, they get released quite quickly in such cases. In Pranava Srotas, in particular, matters of adhesion or similar hazy patches or these things, Gandhak can be combined with Abrak, or Gandhak can be combined with Marich, which I explained earlier. Pipalik Shirpat can be your drug choice of Anupan, could be there, or similar kalpas we can think of. Kanakasav is there. Use of Shuddha Gandhak, we discussed in Kleda Shoshan, Ama Vinasham. So it has similar action, and like here we can discuss, it can be combined with Hingu in different proportions. Hingu 180, Hingu Grutavarjan is to be done, and in the Grutavarjan Hingu along with Shuddha Gandhak can be orally administered, or even in Navi area, cotton, this Hingu should be Hingu. Little piece can be wrapped in a cotton piece and it can be kept in the navel button. That also gives wonderful result in Hidma, Shwas, Hikka. Tropical application of Gandhak in some kind of ghee or Gandhadra which we prepare from Shuddha Gandhak also gives good results. Now Tikshna, Ushna, Ati Ruksha and Garavisha. Particularly if we observe that when patient starts feeling any problems regarding breathlessness or shortness of breath, the most common thing prescribed by is bronchodilators or sprays. Now what they do is they dilate the passage, any depositions of any secretions, serous secretions which are existing in the system and which actually make the path narrow or express the symptoms of difficulty in breathing or Shwasakruchrata. So these substances, when administered tropically, they tend to dilate this passage and ultimately tend to dry out the serous secretions which are existing or which are happening in the pranava srotas. So ultimately, in long run, what they do is they form a typical lining or dry lining over the inner surface of the pranava srotas, which is difficult to rule out in longer stages. So ultimately what we see is initially patient is taking this spray or inhaler on a SOS basis. Whenever required, he'll take. Later on it would be like he will have to take it once a day. Then later on it goes on twice a day. And this way the dependence goes on increasing on these things. So we have to treat them in a category of Garavisha. They are extremely rukshan, Tikshna, because if we'll see that inhaler, it is in micrograms, micromilligrams, not even in grams. Any of the medicines that generally we administer are at least in 120 milligram, 500 milligram is the quantity. So a substance in very nanograms, so if it can yield a result, it is very Tikshna and rukshan in nature. So in these cases particularly, we need to administer Shuddha Gandhak along with some Sneha, which would practically go in that particular Rogadikar or any typical conditions. Now Gandhak usage examples, Sanna. Sanna is a beautiful method administered suggested by Bhavaprakash in the first Harit Ki, Sanna Harit Ki. So any substance when administered Sanna, that is it goes along with the usage of food. Every morsel you are consuming the substance, so it has an overall impact on the aharas which gets produced at the end of every avastha part. So this medicine completely gets itself completely mixed with the ahar prakriya, and during the ahar process it is going to be released in every every time the Ahara would be out in the system for nourishment of the system, Gandak is going to deposit its properties or medicinal things on this Ahara rasa. So Dugdha, Odan plus Jaggery or Khanda Sharkara or Madhu, and suitable dosage of Gandak. Gandak dosage generally starts with 120 milligram, that is 1 gunja to 1 gram could be the maximum dose at the one time. But this has to be really in judging with the Dosha bal and Rugana bal. This works on well Pranavayu and relative Sampraptis and Vyanavayu in later stages as well. The whole complex mentioned above can be complemented with ample quantity of cow's ghee, provides necessary medium for process enhancement. Guda Yogas, this is an addition which I have tried with some Guda Yogas from Charak Samhita, like Guda Harit Ki what Charakaracharya has suggested. So this can be complemented with some portion of Gandak to that. Gandak dose will not be increased in this case. The Guda and Harit Ki will go on increasing. So it facilitates the Chedan Karma and Vedan Karma of Harit Ki to a great extent, and dosages of Guda and Harit Ki, they grossly reduce. So in a lesser dose, the medicine is showing better results. So generally Guda Harit Ki, Guda Danti or Gudardra or Pippali, they are mixed with good, they are administered to patient on a daily basis on an increasing quantity. Typical can be 10 grams of each, and with increment of 10 to 15 grams. This depends on the, again, Dosha Bala and Rugana Bala. Now, rationale of action, if we say Guda Yoga, Guda when reaches Amasaya expand itself. Guda has a nature, if you will find that Guda will tend to absorb moisture and it will expand the volumetrically itself. So this delivers the necessary Drava, Sandra, Snigdha gunas from the matter, and it is inherited or it is pulled from all the srotasas or from the system. It puts everything, every reaction in a transient state, and enough time is given, or this Harit Ki or Gandak which we are employing in this medium Guda has particularly created, it is going to have this Chedan action. It is going to, the Gandak and Harit Ki properties are going to be transmitted to the system, and further Lekhan Chedan Karma are going to take place. So when this becomes on a regular basis, or activities or consumption is on regular, daily the load of doshas is converted into a form which can be eliminated from system. Harit Ki tends to give loose motion. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 loose motion patient tends to pass on daily. It's comfortable to eat. It's nothing which cannot be done. But with Ganda, incorporation of Gandak, the dosages are grossly altered. We'll move to next slide. So this we have seen, the addition of Gandak reduces quantity of both ingredients. Administer 5 grams will be the highest, like 1 gram would be the single dose. Even if you'll administer Gandak in 2 to 3 times or 4 times a day in different annakalas, 5 grams can be a maximum. Internal administration of Gandak, many people say that Gandak internal administration, whether it is supported or what are the doses of Gandak mentioned. On this slide on the right hand, you can see in Rasa Shastra again, there is a concept of Kalinistri. So Kalinistri is a particular female physiology wherein our menstruation cycles and these things are of a particular category. So in absence of any Kalinistri, he or the Granthakaras have asked to administer Gandak in particular 1 karsha matra. 1 karsha is your almost 11 to 12 grams, and that too for a particular number of days. So the physiology converts in a particular manner, and that Sri can be taken as Kalinistri in further process. So we'll be going to next slide. Dietary restrictions in Gandak 7, do's and don'ts. Abundant use of cow's milk, well boiled and cooled. Consumption of recipes prepared with Garcinia, kokum, sendav in place of other amla and lavan. Jwari, odan is rice or shali. Nachni, mausaras, kukut mausaras, aja mausaras, or paya soup can be given. Don't Vyayam has to be avoided, Vyavai is to be avoided, Divaswa. So these are basic do's and don'ts what we generally follow in case where we are giving Rasayana therapy. Now, Gandhak, couple of formulations which can be handy. Mishri is sugar candy, Khadi Shakar, Vasa Churna, and Gandhak Churna for conditions coupled with bleeding disorders associated in Pranavasrotas. Vidari Gandha, Gandhak, Shataputi Abrak helps in restoration of any Vikrutis, chronic Vikrutis of Pranavayu. Vidari Gandha, Gandhak, and Shataputi Abrak is of great aid. Shuddha Gandhak, Shataputi Lohavasma helps to restore conditions of Samanvayu Vikruti, Grahani Pradosh. One of the very popular medicines which is available in market currently is Gandhak Dhruti, is an oil-based preparation. Many pharmacies are making this. This was principally conceived by Madhusudan Nanal, my great-grandfather Anna, whose death anniversary we are commemorating today. So Gandhadra is a formulation wherein Gandhak is treated with oil in a particular manner so that the major component of this purified sulfur gets molten and blended with the oil which we are giving. Traditionally, what we implement is walnut oil or akrod tail is used for preparing Gandhadra. So Gandhadra and Gandhak Dhruti is a categoric difference. Gandhak Dhruti is a very complex molecule compared to Gandhak Dhra. The Rasaratna Samuchayakar, which displays that the Varti of Trikatu and Gandhak is to be made, it is to be dipped in mustard oil and it should be lit. And the drops which fall below is generally taken as Gandhak Dhruti. But it doesn't inherit all the properties of a typical Dhruti, what it should. So rather, I would suggest that Gandhak Dhra can be effectively used. Gandhak can be administered in drops. Generally, Gandhak Matra is in drops. You can prepare it with Trikatu Varti also. This also is an effective formulation. So just couple of drops and they can be administered a small baby to a person of 70-75 years of age. So there's no age restriction for use of Gandhadra. Only thing you need to be careful is the dosage what you are prescribing. Works wonderful with Pratisha, Shwaska, patients of any age, sex and gender, like I mentioned, babies. All the kapha dominating avasthas. Disorders related to Shira and Pranavayu. Patients of Hikka can be like Gandhadra can be of a great help in immediate treatment for Hikka patients also. Occasionally, it can be combined with any other oils like Gandhak Dhruti or Gandhak Dhra. Couple of drops can be added to any Mahanarayan tail, Sachar tail, or any of the snares that you want to choose or you want to prescribe. To summarize with, Shuddha Gandhak is a very potent and versatile medicine. Though seldom used, it gives remarkable results. Effective in liquefied viscid kapha, ama. Depending upon Shodhan process, it can exhibit activities like Pachan, Rasayan functions effectively. Necessary to observe do's and don'ts. This is very important in case of Gandhak, as Gandhak is a very Ushnavirya Dravya. So consumption of particularly alcohol and things which are not, which are heavy to digest, they can land you in trouble. So this you have to convince your patient properly if you are administering Gandhak in a handsome quantity. So various combinations using Charak Kalpasthan or various different ganas which we discussed today in the first session by Dr. Bhavdekar sir. So Gandhak can be a choice and it can be used as a trigger, or it should be rather used as a trigger in different formulations to enhance the activity and reduce down the dosage. So I think I'll sum up my session with Gandhak today. If any inquiries or queries are there regarding Gandhak usage, I would be happy to answer all of them. You can write to me personally, or right now also if it is there, you can post your questions. I would be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This was a very informative session on Pranavasrotas and Rasadravya Chikitsa. It was very interesting how you explained about Gandhak, its use clinically, and how it affects Pranavasrotas. Thank you. moving forward, it gives me immense pleasure to introduce and welcome our next speaker, Vaidya Anshu Mure ma'am. She has been practicing Ayurveda since 1998 at Sri Kamla Ayurveda Hospital. Her field of specialization is in infertility and chronic disorders. She has presented many scientific papers and delivered many lectures in conferences, newspapers, and journals. Under a special program named Kali Ulmatana, she has guided many girls regarding health and hygiene. Apart from being a doctor, she has also done a lot of social work. She is associated with Borderless World Foundation located in Kashmir and is also attached to an NGO named Pulse Foundation. During COVID-19, she has successfully treated 3,000 patients solely by Ayurveda. Now, I would like ma'am to start her session.
Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible to us.
Okay, yes. Namaskar to all. And first of all, I'm thankful to Nanal Foundation to giving me an opportunity to deliver my thoughts regarding infertility. Though my today's topic is gynecological disorders, but as since 12 years I'm working on infertility, so I decided to talk on infertility cases 22 years before, when we put a board on our clinic, that infertility center, most of the people were laughing, especially BMS were also in that being a BMS practitioner, how you could practice on Vandhyatva. But if we does a dedicated work, then we can achieve such a different era also. We can achieve a good results, and this can prove we could prove this. This is a really proud feeling to myself also, and with the help it could happen only with Ayurveda. And so I feel most of the time I feel as a Vaidya I am practicing infertility. So today I'm going to, just a minute. Next slide. Yes, sorry. So when we go in a text and go through the literature, after Vata Rakta topic, Charak mentioned Yoni Vyapat Chikitsa Adhyay. Initially, this sentence gives us a clear idea when we practice infertility. Nahi Vata Drute Yonir Nari Narivasam Pradushtate. Means 3 active principles we know as a practitioner, Kapha Pitta Vata. Still, in case of infertility, we should focus on Vata. So about we have to treat mostly Vata and associated those doshas and dhatus we treat in most of the cases. So as Vaidya Ashutosh Nanal told me that the listener should get practical knowledge. So I choose around 10 cases for my session, and I'll try to give a maximum focus on practical knowledge. So obviously 10 cases and a time is limited for me. So I have to be fast while speaking. So my humble request to all listeners that pay attention, because you have to correlate the history and the management and the thought process behind the management. So first case we'll discuss endometriosis. This is a critical situation in case of infertility. 32 years female, her married life is 3 years. She was a case of primary infertility. We describe Prakruti according to Panchabhautik Chikitsa. Her Prakruti was Ksharadharmi. Menstrual history, 28 days menstrual cycle was there. 2 days bleed she was having. A keen history we should take of every patient, because we, like a modern science, we don't treat only reproductive system. Whole body should be normal, then and then only our patient could get a good results. Initially, when we were practicing infertility, we get such a patient that those wandering here and there, all the centers, and didn't find result, and then they approach to Ayurveda. At that time, the case become quite cliche to treat, but nowadays a picture has changed. Now fresh cases also we are getting. So we should consider the whole body situations, all dosha samvarchana, dhatugata avastha, and dosha sthiti. So she was having 4 days before breast pain, 3 days before MC, palm skinning peeling, palm skin peeling, हथेलियों के छिलके निकलते थे उसके, and other complaints were severe. She was having severe stomatitis, headache, disturbed sleep, feverish sensation, and weakness in the evening. This symptom, especially weakness and feverish sensation, tells that she is having a raktagata dushti, agneya guna is increased in her vadhi, in her body, teja guna is increased, and this tells the especially feverish sensation and weakness in the evening. According to Panchabhautik, I got the findings. One more point I want to tell that these findings, day one's finding I am telling, every time after 15 days follow-up or 1 month follow-up, I got some different findings. But if I could discuss all the day-wise history, then I could discuss just one case. So I am just initial finding, I am just point out over here. Every time if the findings changes, accordingly treatment also change. Yakrut was agneya, pliha agneya, and pain all over points. Which are those points? According to a Panchabhautik Chikitsa, Agni Sanstha is where we could find out the problems in Agni Sanstha. We palpate Yakrut, Pliha, Ubhay Vrukka, and Apana Kaksha. These 4 points we check, and at that time I found everywhere pain was there. Now about treatment. What treatment I planned for her? See, in all 10 cases, initially I mentioned Shodhana Chikitsa, and then Shaman Chikitsa I have mentioned. In this case, Yoga Basti was designed. Endometriosis, what is endometriosis exactly? In that case, some students are there, they have to study in detail about these topics also, because everything I couldn't able to express in this lecture. But just a definition I could show, I could say that there is an excess growth of tissue around the uterus, around fallopian tube, around ovaries, or in pelvic region. This is the excess growth. When there is a growth, there is a stimulation for growth. Vata is stimulating whatever happening over there. We know it. So first, I thought that we should first treat Vata, and then we'll further act on another doshas. So Yoga Basti was given to the patient. Matra Basti Mahanarayan Tel, because in history we saw that there were a lot of pitta complaints patient was giving. So Mahanarayan was given. Mahanarayan is having Shatavari in an ample quantity. Shatavari again, it is a rasayan for the female. So Mahanarayan was administered. It was 60 to 80 ml designed. Then in Niruha, it is described in Charak Chikitsa Sthan, Charak Siddhi Sthan 12. In that quath, I used Bilva, Agnimantha, Shona, Kashmarya, Patola. I used Siddha quath for this, and this Niruha was used. Uttar Basti. In case of here in Yoga Basti, I treated especially Vata Shaman. My thought process was Vata Shaman and Balya Chikitsa. And in Uttar Basti, I use Kasis for Ksharana, because there is an excess growth of tissue that should be eradicated from there. So Kasis was used. Nasya Anutel. Now, for first slide, I may need some more time to describe everything. In next slides, just I'll mention Nasya Raktamokshan, you could understand in detail. Nasya should be administered in each and every infertility case, because every case have the stress, especially female is a she thinks more and more because she have a family pressure, social pressure, and due to this is this thinking process of our society. So she is stressed most of the time. To resolve her stress, we have to administer Nasya. One more thing, we are especially treating Vata dosh, and for that we should administer Vata Kriya Karma on every part of the body. So Nasya is the best solution. In classical text, it was told that we can administer Nasya 14 times a day. Okay, nowadays it is not possible to give 14 times, but at least twice a day we could insist patient that she should have a Nasya at night and in the morning till 12 o'clock, anytime, 4 drops each nostril. Anutil Shamak Nasya was given, which could be given. It is actually mentioned in Dinacharya, so it is always safe, and we can administer on each and every type of patient. Raktamokshan, because Raktagata few symptoms we saw in this case, and so given Raktamokshan, Sarvadahik Raktamokshan was done. In case of Shavan, Shwadanshradhi Gugul was administered. Shwa and Rajani Yog, these are the drugs used in Panchabhatik Chikitsa to treat Raktagata Ushnata. Shwa is a Apa Mahabhut Pradhan Dravya, Rajani again Apa Mahabhut Pradhan Dravya. And so if Aksharadharmi Ushnata is increased, it could reduce with the help of Shwa and Rajani Yog. Paripathadi Kadha, again Raktagata heat is reduced with the help of Paripathadi, and Apa Mahabhut Vruddhi can be achieved with it. Rasayog, as she was having less bleeding, and 4 days before she was having breast pain, so Rasayog was introduced in her Chikitsa. Shatavari Ashwagandha, Balya Rasayan, as we all know, Ashwagandha is introduced especially not only as a Rasayan, but Ashwagandha give a strength to the muscles also. So, and it relieves stress. So it was given. Trivanga Bhasma and Abhrak, Trivanga Rasayan, Vajikaran Bhasma is that. And so it was given. Abhrak is for new daughter best daughter cell should be formed. For that, Abhrak was given for the mother cells. If the mother cell is healthy, then daughter cell can obviously become a healthy cell. So Abhrak was introduced. Vaikranta are introduced for 2 purposes. Basically, Vaikranta is Vrishya, Balya. At the same time, it acts as a Lekhan. This is a case of endometriosis and excess growth is there. To remove that excess growth, Vaikranta is beneficial. And each Bhasma, obviously, all the drugs should be of a best quality. So then and then only we could get the result. So 100 milligram each Bhasma was introduced per day. And this type of management. Okay, one more thing. All the management was not given on the day 1. It was changed according to the situation, according to the history of patient, according to the signs and symptoms of the patient. This was administered for the patient, and after 6 months, patient get conceived. This is the photo of the patient. The second case is bicornuate uterus. See, in text, it is mentioned that hetu of the bicornuate uterus, I'll say, though it is a hetu of Suchimukhi yoni, still it is applicable in this case or any of the case of bicornuate uterus. The hetu tells us, Garbhasthayaha striya raukshat vayur narin pradushayan matru doshat anudvaram kuryat Suchimukhi tusa. Means if mother acts such a way that the Vata Prakop happens with Ahariya cause, with Vihariya cause, then due to the Matru doshas are dushta, then in Garbhavastha, that girl child, when that is in a Garbhavastha, at that time, that a Prakupita Vata stay in the uterus, though it is small size, and it creates a Anudvara, means Dwara, cervix we could say, or vagina also. It becomes a small, and due to that Suchimukhi Yoni. This is the Hetu of Suchimukhi Yoni. See, if we'll go through the case, we could understand that how this can interpret in this case. She was a case of primary infertility. Her age was 25 years, married life 4 years. She was a teacher, especially I mentioned his history. She was a teacher, and daily she has to travel 50 kilometers. Means previously when she was in a womb of mother's Vata Prakopak Hetu cause a major damage to her. Again, daily 50 kilometers traveling is a one of major Vata Prakopak Hetu she was doing. Prakruti was Ubhayatmak. Her HSG was done initially when she first visited to some doctor. HSG told that both tubes patent, but there may be a septum. Query they put. After few months, she took their treatment and not responding. So she went to a diagnostic laparoscopy. In laparoscopy, it was found that totally 2 different horns were there. Means so uterus was totally divided into 2 parts. Not only uterus, but when I did her PS examination, at that time I saw that cervix is also divided into 2 parts. So at the time of when I was doing Uttar Basti, I has to put one cannula in one horn. I remove it, and again I feel the oil and I put it in the another part of the cervix. Her menstrual history was 30 days, 3 days bleed, 3 days severe abdominal pain. See, the Samprapti is Vataja, and obviously she was having all the pain due to that Vata dosha. And other complaints were disturbed sleep, constipation. In case Chikitsa, it is already mentioned, and we know what we have to treat. Snigdhasvinnam tatha yonindu sthitam sthapayet punaha. We should give Snehan Swedan, and the uterus was bifurcated into parts. We could not alter the anatomy, but we can give strength to both of the horn, and this happened in I treated this type of cases till date, practicing around 6 to 7 cases, and there is a conception in any one of the horn, and baby could it is found that 9 months pregnancy continued and patient delivered normally. Also few has to undergone LSCS, but doctors were also shocked how such a small horn could bear the weight till the 9th month, around 2.5 kgs weight. It was also shocking for them, but it was pleasure for me that our chikitsa, when we give a Vata Shaman chikitsa and strength to the part uterus, then it could hold, though it has a small space, it could hold such a 2.5 kgs around baby. Then findings, findings were Yakrudghana, Liha, Akashiya, and Ubhayvrukka was Pidan. Treatment given, Shodhan Chikitsa, Yoga Basti given. Again, Mahanarayan, initially I told why Mahanarayan is given here, to strengthen. Here, Vata Shaman, again, to strengthen the uterus. Niroha, Baladi Niroha, Chikitsa Sthan, Siddhisthan, it is mentioned. This Niroha, it has a Balya as well as Vata Shaman properties, and so this Niroha was administered. Uttar Basti, Bala Ashwagandhadi Tel, again to give strength, because I had one more case that she was not a case of primary infertility. She was conceived 3 to 4 times, but fetus could stay only 2.5 to max 3 months, and she get abort because she was not having that much uterus was not having that much capacity to hold the baby. So to give a strength, Bala Ashwagandha tail was administered. Again, Yoni Pichu for 20 days, Guduchati tail, it was given to Vata Shaman, and again Travarta, we should not consider every time only uterus. We have to consider the Vata situation of Travarta Yoni. Only uterus is not important. The muscles which are holding uterus, those are also important. So for them, I use Yoni Pichu. Obviously, it is not only acting on muscles, but it acts on Travarta Yoni. In case of Shamana, Shva, Rajani Yoga was given, Shvadarshati Gugul, Paripatadi to reduce the Raktagat Ushnata. Suvarna Malini Vasanta, it is Balya, Rasayan Kalpa, and there should be a Vasanta Rutu in her case. So I administer it because due to the bifurcation of two horns, there is a due to that Vata must have done some Kshayaja Samprapti over there, and to reduce that Kshaya and new Dhatu should be created over there. For that, Swarnamali Vasanta was administered. Trivanga again, Balya Rasayan Vajikaran. One more quality Trivanga is having, especially Trivanga give strength in the muscular part of the body. So obviously it is beneficial for uterus. Ashwagandha, Mausa Yoga, bifurcation is especially in the Mausa Dhatu. Vata Prakop is in the Mausa Dhatu. So Mausa Yoga was administered because I'm giving Balya Chikitsa. And if the Mausa Dhatugata Agni is improper, then it could not convert the Aushadhi or Aharya Dravya in Samyak Dhatu. So Mausa Yoga was administered for both the purposes. Dadimari Ghruta was given for Abhyantar Panartha. 20 ml, I used to give 20 ml Ghruta at 9 AM with milk. And such a type of treatment was given, and patient conceived after 8 months. This is that patient with her baby. Now, third case is tubal block. 26 years female, married life is 9 years. She was housewife. Prakruti was not known, as we derive Prakruti from the date of birth. She was not knowing birth date, so it was not known. Again, everyone, listener, if they are well aware about Panchabhautik Chikitsa and Panchabhautik Prakruti, why it is important, then it is well. Those who are not knowing, they should learn more about Prakruti, because Prakruti is important about the to select the medicine, how much time that medicine should be needed for that patient, which type of medicine we should give, and how much duration will be there for to cure the symptoms. So Prakruti we should know. Menstrual history was 35 days, 5 to 6 days bleed with clots, severe abdominal pain and lumbar pain. Most of the time when clots passes, patient get pain. 8 days before, breast pain. Breast pain tells that Vimarga Gaman of Rasadhatu, and we should do the Margastha in a proper way of Rasadhatu. So this history is also important, and we have to treat it. We could treat it very well with our medicine. Her HSG, both tubes were blocked at femoral end. Other complaints, daily leukorrhea plus lumbar pain, coitus painful. Next day after coitus, whole day she has a burning micturition and vaginal itching. Per speculum examination when I did, I found candidial vaginitis. Also, she was having burning in chest after meals and headache. Means Pittash Takrari along with the Rasadhatu Vikruti and plus Mansadhatu Vikruti as a tubal block was there. These were her, according to her complaints, we could see. Findings, Yakrudhana, Pliha Agneya, Vrukka Pedan, Ubhay Vrukka Pedan was there, and Apana Kaksha Pedan also there. Chikitsa, it is again well described in text. Vatalahar Cheshtaya, Vatalayaha Samiranaha, Vivruddho Yonimashritya, Yonistodasa Vedanam. Vata Prakopa can lead into the Vedana and Yoni Pradesh, Travarta Yoni Pradesh. Then we have to again treat Vata. In treatment, Shodhan, Yoga Basti, Matra, Mahanarayan Tales, Matra was given. Niroha, in case of Niroha, especially I introduced Dvipanchamuladi Niroha. Again, it might be mentioned in Siddhisthana or Chikitsasthana. So this was especially introduced for Vata Shaman. And so that Niroha was introduced. Uttar Basti, Ksharatel, 2 sets I gave, and Kasistel 1 set. Why I did like this? After a long practice, we found, both of us, that if we administer Uttar Basti in this way, that initially 2 sets we give Ksharatel, and after Kasistel, the number of patients' tubal openings was more. And so we designed that. Vaginal douche, Yashki, Shatavari, Ushir, Mustaq, Vatha, because she was having vaginal itching, burning, and candidal vaginitis. So vaginal douche was administered for 5 days. Again, if she complains, then I told her to have a douche. In Shaman, Rasayog, as a Rasadhatu was Vimargaga. Chandraprabha, it is a Balya, Vrishya, Rasayan for reproductive system. Pushpadhanva, Ganesh Shastri told that Pushpadhanva gives strength to all reproductive organs, uterus, fallopian tubes, and ovaries also. So Pushpadhanva was introduced, Arogyavardhini, Yakrut was Ghana, and so Shatavari, Ashwagandha, Trivanga, Shva, Rajani Yog. 3 months such a management was given, and after 3 months HSG done, and the right tube was open, left tube was not open. Still patient, because 1 tube is enough for us, and that patient conceived after 2 months of that HSG. This is the patient and baby. We took photographs. So many photographs are there, just one I am putting. These are the X-ray of patient, tubal blocks patient. Initially it was block at membrane end, and after laparoscopy was done, because she was not confirmed that whether HSG should not be done, will do laparoscopy, and it was open in laparoscopy. The case 4 is TB-PCR positive plus acutely retroverted uterus. The situation is not so fair for us that just one patient is coming with the one symptom. In further cases, you will see the multiple symptoms are there, and we have to treat all the type of symptoms. At the same time, previous history also, and its residual parinam also we have to treat. So this case was 26 years female, married life 4 years, case of primary infertility. Her prakriti was ksharadharmi, menstrual history 26 to 28 days, 4 days bleed with clots. In this case, clots I'm saying when there is a Tivra Raktagata Ushnata, heat is increased more in the Rakta, then Rakta's Dravatva comes down and it becomes Ghana. This is also one of the cause of clot formation. Her Prakriti is Aksharadharmi. She was a case of TB-PCR. In childhood also, she had a pulmonary cox. So due to the disease, she took a lot of treatment, means around 9 months and 7 months, AKT3, AKT4, and this increased the heat in her body. All of us know that most of the patient, when they are on a cox treatment, they tells us that it is very difficult for them to daily survive, because that heat is tremendously increased and it becomes difficult for them. So in this case, the clot formation is not due to the kapha, but Raktagata apadhatu is reduced, and so clots are there. Her diagnostic laparohysteroscopy was normal, both tubes were patent. TB-PCR, at that time, TB-PCR was done and it was positive, and she took 7 months AKT4. As I told, in childhood, pulmonary cox she had. Her other complaints were hard stool, burning at anus, always burning micturition. And not only burning micturition, but sometimes urine color becomes yellow to red. This much intensity of heat she was having in the vrukka. Small blisters. One more complaint she used to have, that I have a small blisters around the vagina. There she was having burning at vagina during coitus also, every time, because there was no apadhatu. So tikshnatva and teja mahaput was tremendously increased, and just the rubbing process of coitus, which should be a pleasure for her, it was not achieving, because there was no secretion of mucus before during coitus from her side. So this complaint she was having. The findings were Yakrutagneya, Pliha Agneya, and Pidan. All the points, Agni Sanstats, all the points, it was there. This is the, just a minute. She was having TB-PCR positive and acutely retroverted uterus. In this case, this hetu clearly tells exactly why this situation happens. So what happens? Vyavayam atitruptaya bhajantya svannar peditaha vayur mithya sthitangaya yoni strotansi samsthitaha. How it happens, why it happens, it doesn't tell modern science, but Ayurveda, in our text, it was mentioned 2,500 years ago, that if with the heavy abdomen, if a female is having intercourse, when her udara is already pidita with anna, at that time she will undergo coitus, and after coitus, if she will sleep in a wrong manner, then the prakupit vata directly went to yoni, and it alters the position of the yoni. So again, vata chikitsa we have to do, and chikitsa again given snehan swedan vastyadi vataja svanilapaham. So in chikitsa, yapana basti here I used. Why yapan basti? Because she had twice tuberculosis, took a medicine. Tuberculosis is a kshayaja samprapti. Here she first, instead of shodhan, she was in the need of balya, shaman, both chikitsa. So yapana was introduced to her. 3 sets of yapana basti. Tritiya baladi yapan was given. Then in Uttar Basti, Dadi Madhigruta, Balya, Vrishya, Pitta Shambhadhrita. Raktamokshan, Sarvadehik, then Yoni Pichu, here Chandan Bala Lakshadi was given. Why Chandan Bala Lakshadi? It is again Pitta Shamak and Balya. So it was even, and the uterus was acutely retroverted. To alter the position, Yoni Pichu was given. In Shaman, Shwa, Rajani, Paripatha, as the above Samprapti tells us that it was necessary for her. Swarnamalini Vasanta, Balya, Vrishyakalpa, Avipattikar, because she was having hyperacidity symptoms, so it was administered Avipattikar. At the same time, to give Rasadhatu, Vimargaga Rasadhatu, we want to do it Anuloman, so Avipattikar was given. Then Shukrashodhan Gana, tablets we did, and that also we used, because due to the restall body is anupahata with Teja Mahabhut, then obviously Shukra is also have impact on that. And so to reduce the Bija Dushti, or to have a best bija, Shukra Shodhan Gana was used. Then Patoladi for Raktagatahi, Gandhak Rasayan, Shatavari, and this type of management was given, club management, and after 8 months that patient get conceived. In few cases, in such a few cases, sometimes I use cervical ring, vaginal ring pessary also, but it won't feel comfortable to the patient. And this patient naturally conceived. I didn't undergone IUI also. She conceived naturally. Because when there is a acutely retroverted uterus, then cervix cervix is so deep. Sometimes in the modern text also it is mentioned that the fusion means the seed which is vagina, the sperms could not pass from cervix and acute retroverted uterus. This is the case. Oh, internet nahi sangte. This is actually video. I don't know. It is not playing. Okay. Now case 5 it's a case of PCOS. Ample cases nowadays we are getting. Initially, the cases were so small in number, but now ample cases, and it's a tremendous hectic for infertility treating doctors to treat the PCOS, because Vyadhi or Lakshan want to are of such a type that patient should be active, and most of the time those patients are not that much active. This is the main worst thing in case of PCOS. So she was a 30 years female, married life 10 years, case of secondary infertility. Prakriti was Amladharmi. PCOS with Amladharmi Prakriti is again a challenge for a practitioner. If it would be a Ksharadharmi Prakriti, then it gives a good result, but Amladharmi Prakriti is a challenging again. Her menses was depend on medicine. After 3-4 months, periods are not there, so she used to take Registrone or some hormonal pills to have a periods. Then she get bleed for 14 to 15 days, obviously heavy bleed with clots and pain. USG told PCOS, HSG was normal. Other complaints was for first baby, she was a 6 years child, and for that conception also she took a lot of medicine. With that, she was having daily leukorrhea, lumbar pain, itching vulva, burning in chest, nausea, headache, burning, micturition after coitus. These were also complaints. Then in case of treatment, I select a Vaman for her. If we go through the history of her history, then she was dependent, medicine dependent menses she was having, and weight gain she was having. At the same time, she was having burning in chest, nausea, headache. All these complaints, for all these complaints, I administer Vaman to her. In few such a complaints, if the patient have after Vaman gives a good result, I found that, so I introduced Vaman to her. Then for Vaman, Yashtu Madhu Kvat was given, and Vamak Madanfal Vacha Yashtu Madhu was given. After Vaman, 15 days, then I started Yoga Basti to her. Mahanarayan, Matrayan, Niruha Baladi Niruha was given, mentioned in Charaksitisthan. Shaman Chikitsa, Falatrikari Gugul was used. Bol pudi, which sachet we prepare in that, kala bol, tambra, kasis, and haritaki I use in that sachet. Kuberaksha Dhanavati to reduce the cyst in ovaries was given. Gandhakarasayan, Raktagata, Tikshnatva, Teja Mahabhut I want to reduce, and for that Gandhakarasayan given. Trivanga Abrak, Shilajit again, Balya Vrisha again Lekhan, and Vaikranta for the same cause. All the bhasmas were used 100 milligram. Shilajit 250 milligram, and rest all are 100 milligram per day. Patoladi, Shivaputra, Shivalingi, and Putra Jivak sachet I prepare to Bija, because in we all know that Bija Nirmiti is not there in case of PCOS. So Shivalingi Putra Jivak is used. Jingi Sharati, again Raktagata Tikshnatva want to reduce, and it was used, and Shatavari. After 10 months of treatment, this patient get conceived. She's This was another PCOS case, but she shared her experience with us. Now, one more critical case, that low AMH. In this case also, allopathy physicians find it too difficult to treat. They administer a lot of medicine, no doubt. A lot of hormonal support is also given. Due to that, patient has a rest of life. They have a lot of complaints also, but it is a pleasure for us that we are not giving any residue bad effect to the patient with our treatment, whereas they get a very good result. So this is 34 years female patient, case of primary infertility, married life 8 years. Her prakruti was ubhayatmak. 4 months, menstrual history was 4 months since 4 years. Before that, she was having 30 days of menstrual cycle. Then 2 days bleed, painless. She had undergone twice IVF and many times IUI. Still, she was not conceiving because her ovarian reserve and fertility was reduced due to low AMH. So it was not resultful, and so AMH was 0.5, and she was told surrogacy. Then patient approached us. Then other complaints were weight gain, allergic rhinitis, dry cough, constipation, and hyperacidity. Findings were yakrut ghana, pliha avedana. She was having anywhere there was no pain. She was given, if we think her complaints, then 4 months, after 4 months, she was having periods, weight gain she was having, again, she was having allergic rhinitis also. Shodhana Yoga Basti was given. This anuvasan was given, matra apariyamak anuvasan, matra apariyamak anuvasan matra was given to her. And in case of Niroha, Vidari, Yashti, Shingada, and Kaseru Charak Siddhisthan's, this Niroha was given. Uttar Basti Prajasthapan Ghruta was given. Because if the AMH is low, that means in such cases there is a endometrium thickness is also less, and so conception rate is also reduced. Because she had undergone IVF twice, embryo was okay. Embryo was also not that much healthy, but still they they have a chance that yes, they introduce the embryo, and it could not embedded because the endometrial lining was thin. So Uttar Basti was given, Prajasthapan Ghrutas Uttar Basti, Nasya Anutel. Viddhakarma was done for rhinitis. Here though we does the things, but another karmas also for some symptoms. Here I especially mention in this case, her rhinitis also, it should be administered by us. What is rhinitis? It is asahatva. It is allergic thing. Means it is asahatva to the atmosphere around her. She might be allergic to the cold wind, dust, or anything else. But there is a asahatva. If asahatva is there in some part of body, then that asahatva, why it should not be in reproductive system? I think so. And so any kind of asahatva should be treated. It is we could see it in a one strotasa, but because it is drushya, vyakti sthan is that, because it may be having khavaigunya in that strotas, but such a khavaigunya might be if in reproductive, then also she may not conceive with all the treatment whichever planned for her in our clinic. So that rhinitis was also properly treated. In Shamana Chikitsa, Jivaniya Ghruta Pan, Abhyantar Pan was given. Falatrikari Gugula and Varangak was given as Yakrutli Haver Ghana, Kumari Asav. It is Balya to uterus and Shodhan also. Then Trivanga Haralu was given. Nazolarin is the drug for rhinitis. Sagar Pharma's that medicine is. Hirak Bhasma. Here the change was so tremendous that she was advised to have a surrogacy. So Hirak Bhasma was introduced as her fertility rate was too low, and Hirak Basma is the best Vrusha Bhasma. So Hirak was introduced. Then Gandharva Haritaki for Anuloman, Suvarna Malini Vasanta. Kshayaja Samprapti, again AMH low is a Kshayaja Samprapti, and so Suvarna Malini Vasanta was administered, and after 7 months this patient get conceived. This is also one of the video of patient. She was this patient also actually this is a different case, but she was first she was conceived with IVF, and after the 4 months of Ayurvedic treatment she was conceived within a 4 months. This actually she missed to tell in her history. These few reports of patients AMH, low AMH, and which she was conceived after treatment. And her AMH was also increased. Now, this case is having bad obstetric history, which what was that I'll discuss further. She was a case of secondary infertility plus PCOS. See the combination. Multiple complaints patient comes with us. So 29 years, female, married life 6 years, Prakriti Ubhayatmak. So that means healthier. Ubhayatmak Prakriti tells that it is a good Prakriti. Married, her menstrual history was misprint is there, 1.5 to 2 months menstrual history, 2 days bleed with abdomen and leg pain, lumbar pain. She had a first baby, 3 years, full term LSCS, and the baby weight was low, so the section was done. She was having hypertension. What was the bad history? That hypertension in last pregnancy from 5th month she was having hypertension, and after that again she conceived and baby was IUD. So she approached to us, and this was the history. Other complaints were weight gain, constipation. At the this is one more very important history for us, that at the age of 13 years she had a severe chickenpox. Also with that sunrise allergy, insomnia, hair fall, and dandruff, palm joint color black. This is also a distinguished sign. We should see all the things, that when there is a palm joint color is blackish, discoloration is there, it again indicates that Raktagata Ushnata, and that heat is due to the chickenpox infection when she had at that time. The residual again sunrise allergy, everything is regarding is indicating that she is having Raktagata Tikshnatva. Okay, sorry. Findings were this. Okay, now I have just some time remain. I'll go through fast. Shodhan, woman was given to her. She was having PCOS, bad obstetric history, hypertension, all the things. Uragata Vyadhi she was having, Lakshana she was telling, so woman was administered. Then Yoga Basti, Mahasahachar and Niruha, which is mentioned on that, Bilvagnimanth, Shona, Kashmarya, Patlakwat, Nasyanu Tel, and Raktamokshan was given. Shaman Chikitsa is also mentioned. Chaturthak was given, the different drug is there, so that only I'll highlight. Chaturthak because she was having a weight gain also, PCOD, and so Raktagata Klinata, if I want to remove, then Chaturthak we use. Varanga, Liha, Ghana was there. Sutshekhar, Suvarna Sutshekhar was given because on and off also she was having a bit raised BP. So Suvarna Sutshekhar was given. Cardimac, it is again for hypertension. Then the Shamularishta Kumari Asav, Prajasthapan Vati, which I have earlier described, that was also administered. This is the patient. Okay, this case is habitual abortion plus secondary infertility. 36 years, female, married life was 10 years. 4 times she had abortion, 4.5, 3.5, 4.5, and 2.5 months. And after last abortion, it was happened 3 years back, and she was not conceiving. So in previous abortions, 3 times did karyotypes of fetus. It was normal. Patient chromosome, both parents' chromosomal study was normal. Diagnostic laparohysteroscopy normal. Ovarian drilling done. Hormonal profile normal. Menstrual history was 30 days, 3 days. Abdominal, lumbar, and calf muscle. She was telling calf muscle pain. This is again distinguished sign. And one more, that sweating area becomes black. Wherever she gets a sweat, that skin becomes blackish. The findings are given. Agneya Yakrut, Pliha Agneya, Vrukka Pankaksha, Sparsha Sattva means Tivra Pedan she was having. Mithyachareణ स्त्रीणां प्रदुष्टेन आर्तवेन च जायन्ते बीजदोषाच्च दैवाच्च. That is also important. So matruj bhav, matruj aharya viharya, wrong lifestyle gives artavadushti, and due to that bijadushi happens, and daivi things also are there. So we have to tell few in such a cases that some daiva vyapashaya chikitsa we couldn't give, but we can suggest them to have that also. Obviously, apatyana mulam naryaha param shronam. So we have to first consider her. She has to carry 9 months baby. Treatment, yoga basti was given. Uttar basti, virechan. One more thing. First, virechan was given to her because she was having a whatever history accordingly, and then 3 sets of yoga basti was given. Then shaman chikitsa also given. Jatamansi fant given because jatamansi is vrishya. It increases parthivatva in her sharira. So jatamansi fant. In virechan, mahatikta garuta was given because the raktaja complaints she was having. Good virechan she had. Then padmakitta, calf muscle pain. When there is a raktagata tikshnatva, teja mahabhut is increased, then it affect on the mausadhatu of sharira. So calf muscle pain she was having, and so padmakitta given. Kanti prabha to give strength to the body. Gandak Rasayan, Trivanga, Abrak, and patient conceived after 6 months of treatment. But as she was having previous history of 4 abortions, again she had a PV bleeding in the month of 4. To stop it, I give all the list, but everything is not administered. For the lecture, I told all the things which I use. While bleeding also, we can give Chandandala Lakshadi Basti, this remember this, because it is a what we can say, it's a heavy tool for us to stop the bleeding. Suvarna Malini Vasanta was given because I was a little bit afraid whether she will continue for 9 months or not. So let's have a Suvarna Malini Vasanta to have a best fetal growth. So it was given. She is the case. Now 9th case is thin endometrium. FSH was low and prolactin was raised. 28 years female, 5 years married life, primary infertility, amladharmi prakriti. 2 small cases are there. We could finish within a time. Menstrual history was 28 days, 2 days bleed, painless. And since 2 years, she was having breast secretion. Took a lot of allopathy treatment, but just symptomatically she could get a result, and ultimately she was not conceiving. So she was, and 5 times she did IUI. The finding, the levels are mentioned already. Always lower abdominal pain. The treatment was yoga basti, matra basti, falagruta. Yes, not only oil. Sometimes we use gruta also for basti. Niroha was given erandamuladi, uttar basti, dadi madi gruta, vrishya, balya, pittashamak. For so dadimadi, anutelnasya, shaman, in shaman rasayog, vajikara yog. It is prepared with all the vajikara dravyas. Then falagruta abhyantar panartha, chandra prabha as a balya, falagrut haralu, and purna chandrodairas. This was administered as a vrishya, indriya, balya, and what we can say rasayan also that. So purna chandrodaya was also introduced. This is the last case, is mild endometriosis. Prolactin was raised, AMH down, and plus endometriosis. See, 3 symptoms were there. She was a 34 years female, married life 14 years. Case of primary infertility, ksharadharmi prakriti, 24-25 days cycle, 2 days bleed, breast pain before 15 days. of MC. Many times I had done hair fall, dandruff, daily lumbar pain, coitus. Now you could come to know that, see, all the history is very much important to us. In laparoscopy, mild endometriosis was found. The findings of prolactin AMH is mentioned. Yakrudghana, pliha, akashiya, ubhayavrukka, pedan. Pitta samurchito vayur yonin dushayati sriyaha. So pitta is, if the vayu is attached with the pitta, it again dushayati striyaha. So the treatment was yoga basti, matra mahanarayan, erandamuladi, uttar basti, 2 sets of kshara, and one set of kshara tel was given, 2 sets of falagruta given, because initially I was interested in the lekhan karma. First I administer endometriosis and afterwards AMH low. So in that case, for that falagruta was introduced. Kanchanar Google for a lekhan, rasayog, vajikar yog, falagrutapan, shva, rajani, falakumari, asav. Always we have to consider, in case of infertility, evam yonishu shuddhasu garbham vindanti yoshitaha adrushte prakrute bije jivopakramane sate. This is the basic principle of Ayurveda. If the everything is Shuddha, Yoni is Shuddha, Bija is Shuddha, then only Atma think to travel in that Garbha. So if we achieve all kinds of this Shuddhi, then we could get a best result in case of infertility. Thank you very much. I hope I deliver my lecture in time. If anyone have a question, I'd like to answer it.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such a knowledgeable session. It will surely help students like us in near future. The way you presented cases and explained us its practical aspect was very helpful. Thank you, ma'am. Moving forward, I would now like to introduce our next eminent speaker, respected Dr. Prashant Tiwari, sir. He has done his BMS and MD Panchakarma from Pune and is a gold medalist as well. He has done his EMS course and a certificate course in Western Spa from VLCC, Mumbai. He is the founder of Dharma Ayurveda Clinic and Panchakarma Center. He is also an ex-consultant of All India Institute of Ayurveda, New Delhi. He is National President of NASYA, India, and President of Indian Institute of Forest Management. He has done specialized work on Ayurveda rheumatology through Panchakarma. He is an associate professor and honorary lecturer in many colleges. He is an eminent speaker in various institutes of Ayurveda nationally and internationally. He is member of many national and international institutes. He is an advisory member of Ayush under Ministry for COVID-19. He has been awarded with many honors like Charak Award 2018, Youth Vaidya Icon Award 2021, etc. He also holds many international book records. I would now like to request Sir to please start with the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. And first of all, I will thank Nanal Foundation for giving me this wonderful opportunity. And I will congratulate all the team members who have done a great effort to for this wonderful webinar and this national level communication for the with the eminent Vaidyas. I have heard like Gunwan sir and Mule ma'am, and wonderful lectures by Ashutosh sir and Aisha ma'am too. So the last thing is this: we are celebrating the Azadi Amrit Mahotsav also here, and in Azadi Amrit Mahotsav, actually we can clearly see this there is a very big and important role of Nanal Foundation for this Swatantrata Sangram also. So I congratulate the Nanal Foundation for this also. Like they have contributed more than 100 years for this our pathy Ayurveda, and to keep it in this scientific manner too. So my topic of presentation, I'll request the team to just share my slides because I'm having some technical issues here. So if they can help me so that I can present my the topic of today. Can you help me in this? for the, can you help me with the slide presentation? My topic of today's presentation is applied aspect of the basti with spatial reference to the our Charak Siddhi Sthan. Charak Siddhi Sthan is having all the things like do and don'ts and all the conditions where we have to give the where we have to give the Vaman Virechan and every prakriya of Panchkarma. Like in the same way, the basti is extensively mentioned in Charak Siddhi Sthan. When we see the applied aspect, when first of all we should understand how the basti is working and what was the Charak intention to for that. So first of all, they have given like when we see the basti working, and so in the Charak Siddhi Sthan they have clearly mentioned like how the basti is working. Basti is basically working. It is having the movement capacity, like it moves. It is a unique methodology of chikitsa in which there is a movement of nabhi, kati, pash, and like in udar also. Like in this whole area, the basti dravya moves and it churns all the doshas and mal of the body, and after that it basically with the help of this and it excretes. This is not only the excretion, it is a combination of the vitiated dosha and the disturbed malas of the body, and it accumulate all the things, and on the basis of that it expel the things. And this expulsion is based on all the minute segments of the all the 5 vayus. Basically, when we administer the basti, it activates the apan vayu, and in the continuation, it actually activate all the vayus, and so all the vayus are having the different agni. Like when we see the panchabhautik agni of a different vayu is having different function. So when we administer the basti, it actually the basti dravyas are extracted with the help of our panchabhutagni, and this panchabhutagni takes all the different like active principle and working media of that basti dravya, and it churn with it accumulate churn with the this dosh as well as with the mal. So when it combined, and it gives the better result in the form of an excrete, and it in this way it is actually the pacifying the vata dosha. So when we see the basti working, it enters in the anus and it leads to kati, all the vata sthan, then udar, then pash and nabhi, and mix all the doshas, and it lubricate, and it come out with the malasthan again, and it excrete. So why we consider basti as it is a complete treatment? So when we see basti is having only unique capacity to work for the shakhagat doshas as well as koshtagat doshas as well as marmagat doshas. It means all kind of disorders. The basti is the unique methodology to treat all kind of all part of the bodies, as well as all kind of disorder like shakhagat dosh, marmagat dosh, koshtagat dosh. If any kind of disorder you are having, so basti is the only responsible factor to treat. Why it is so? Because vayu is responsible for the shakagat dosh as well as koshtagat dosh as well as marmagat dosh. So whenever we are having any kind of treatment which is going to pacify the vat, so basti is the most remarkable and the best methodology to treat it. The secondly, it is that's why the Charak Siddhi Sthan Adhyay 1, it is clearly mentioned as they consider basti as a complete treatment. So another, when we go to the basti Charak Siddhi Sthan Adhyay 10, again it is clearly mentioned that the notable advantage of the basti is the quickest action, and it is having both the desired action, like it is good in terms of shodhan as well as in the tarpan. So in my later slide, I will convey like how it is workable in the case of Shodhan as well as in the case of Tarpan. Like ma'am has also mentioned various basti of the Yapan bastis, which are mentioned in Charak Siddhi Sthan Adhyay 12. Like they are having both the properties like Shodhan properties as well as Tarpan properties. So initially in her cases, also she mentioned like when she requires Shodhan, So Shodhan was also there. When we required some kind of a tarpan, the tarpan is also mentioned. Can we go to the fourth slide just after this? Just after this. Just before this. Just before this. Before this, sir. No, before this. Yes. So, yes, yeah. The next one, please. Yes. So when we say the basti is having both kind of working types like Shodhan and Tarpan, and it is the best thing is this, it is not going to create any kind of adverse effect. So that's why the basti is considered Poona Chikitsa. There are two references who are main, in which they have mentioned, the Charakachar has mentioned, like whenever you want to treat any disorder with the at any micro level, like Shakagat, Koshtagat. The Shaka is nothing but the Dhatugat condition. Koshtagat means specific Koshta conditions of a particular organ, as well as Marma, like we are having lots of Marma conditions, and Marmagat Vikar also we have there. So for all kind of disorder, including the Pitta disorder and the Kapha disorder, basti can be useful. So that is the only intention. That's why they have mentioned like basti is nothing but the complete treatment. In the case of, not only in the case of Vatas disorder, in the case of Pitta, Kapha, Shakagat, Marmagat, Koshtagat, all kind of condition, you can use basti as a line of treatment. So next slide, please. Next one, please. Next slide, please. Why when we see in a Charak Siddhistan, there are rules are mentioned and different school of thoughts are also mentioned. When we see for the Shodhan, just after the Shodhan of Vaman and Virechan, after the completion of the Sansarjan Kram, immediately after that Anuvasan Basti should be given. So the rest of, when we do the Vaman and Virechan Prakriya, some kind, the Vat Prakop is also, it is visible. So after that Sanshodhan Prakriya of Vaman and Virechan, it is very good and very best condition to put the Anuvasan Basti in that. Anuvasan Basti is nothing but the oil Basti. It is going to give the Snehan, as well as I mentioned earlier, it is going to move. It is going to move in the Nabhi, Kost, and Marmagat area, and it is going to capture all the Nabhi, Kost, and Udar area, and it is going to pacify the Vat there, and easily after taking all the malas, and it is going to soften the malas, and it is going to excrete it out. So that's why Anuvasan Basti should be given on the just after 2 days of that is on the third day of the Sansarjan Kram, after the completion of the Sansarjan Kram of the post Virechan. So that is the first rule. The second rule, it is mentioned in Charak Siddhistan Adhyay 1. It is clearly mentioned in the Sheetkal, the Shishir Ritu, Hemant Ritu, and Vasant Ritu, the Anuvasan Basti must be given in the daytime, just after the meal. So and in the rest of the hot weather time, it can be given in the night time too. This is a different rule which is mentioned. And so whenever you are planning for the Anuvasan Basti in the hot weather, you can also give in the night time also, like post meal. The next, please. Next slide, please. So when we see the different school of thoughts of the Basti, the first segment, which I actually pointed out, like the Charak Siddhistan 1/25, like for the Kapha disorder, like the patient is having all the cough disorder related with the sinusitis or the blockages situation. So for that, 1 to 3 Basti are mentioned, like in a row, you can give 1 to 3 Basti. For the Pittajan condition, 5 to 7 Bastis are mentioned. And for the Vatajan situation, as it is Vataj mainly, we have to pacify the Vat. The more number of Basti are mentioned, 9 to 11. Why it is so an odd number of Bastis are given? For the Kapha disorder, when we use the Basti, it is going to it is going to churn the all kind of mal, and from the whole coast and this Parsh, as well as Nabhi and Udar, it is going to take out all the mal, and it is going to expel it. So that's why for the Kapha disorder, 1 to 3 Bastis are mentioned, very less amount of Bastis, only 1 to 3 in number. Later I'll connect how it is going to be useful. In the case of Pittajanya Vikar, 5 to 7 Bastis are mentioned, not more than in a row. Like in a Vatas disorder, 9 to 11 basti in a row. This is mostly for the Niru basti and Prasrutik basti and less amount of basti. This rule should be followed. For the next condition, for the different Bahudosha Avastha, Madhyam Dosha Avastha and Alpa Dosha Avastha, Karma basti, it's a combination of 30 basti, that is 18 Anuvasan and 12 Niru. And for the Kal condition, 16, and that is 10 Anuvasan and 6 Niru. And Yog, that is mostly in our day-to-day practice, we are using 8, that is Yog Basti, the 5 Anuvasan and 3 Niru. As ma'am has also mentioned, she is using extensively this Yog Basti combination for the Alpadosha Avastha. But in my practice, I am using the Karma Basti and Kala Basti for all the condition. Karma Basti I am using for the Asti Majjagat condition and Asti Majjagat condition, and which are very chronic disorder. I am using the Karma Basti Prakriya, like that is a methodology of 30 days in which we are giving 18 Anuvasan and 12 Niru. In 12 Niru, the alternate days we are giving the Niru, and rest, like we start with Anuvasan and end with 5 Anuvasan also. So in this way, we are going to pacify the Vat as well as all the different disorder like Pittaj and Kapha situation also. The Karma Basti, Kalu Basti and Yog Basti can be administered on the basis of the time, like 8 Basti administration, 16 Basti and 30 Basti administration. In this way, one more very interesting part of the Siddhistan is there. Like Vathar Basti, Pittar Basti and Kafar Basti. This is the first one, this Vathar Basti. In Charak Siddhistan, there are 3, 36, 37 up to 43. There are wonderful references of Sthiradi, that is Dashmuladi Vathar Basti, Irandamuladi, Palash Siddha and Mansras Siddha. These are the Basti which you are going to use extensively in your day-to-day practice. How it is work, because when we think about Basti, we think only about the Vat. So whenever you are having only plain condition of Vat and specific Vat disorder, which are mentioned in Charak Sutristan also, like the Vat Kalakali Adhyay and specific only Vatas disorder, you can use this Basti very clearly, either in the form of Yog Basti, Yog Kala Basti or Karma Basti on the basis of the chronicity of that patient. But also, if you do not, if you are not getting any idea, then you can start with the Vatajanya disorder and Vathar Basti in that way, 9 to 11 continuous. In that way, 9 to 11 continuous Niru Basti should not be given. One more rule is mentioned, like alternate days Basti of Niru and Anuvasan must be given in odd numbers, like only for the Vata disorder if you are using, then 9 to 11 Basti in alternate day, alternate Anuvasan and Niru Kram you can give. The next one, please. Next one. Next. It is the previous one. I need the next one. Yes. So in that chapter only, it is beautifully mentioned like Pittahar Basti, especially the Yashtiyadi Basti and Yashti Siddha Basti, 1 or 2 type, and Drakshadi and Chandanadi. This is a very specific condition, as I mentioned, in for the Pittas disorder, 5 to 7 Basti should be given. Like in this, Pittar Basti of these type, like Yashtiyadi 1 and 2, Chandanadi, Drakshadi, which is mentioned in Charak Siddhistan 46 to 55. You can note down this specific reference and you can use, and this Basti should be given not on the hot basis, it should be given on the cool basis. This is a specific condition which is mentioned. If you're having a specific Pitta disorder, that is only Pitta conditions, then you can use such kind of things. Vatarakta Avastha, Swarbhed and Visarp are the other indication in which Yashtiyadi Basti you can use. I am using for the retinopathy situation also that Yashtiyadi Basti and a Chakshushya combination and Pittar combination are very much useful in this. Pitta Jatisar condition, the patient is having strict loose motion along with the burning sensation. In this, the other symptoms of the Pitta Jatisar Lakshana are also there. Then Drakshadi Basti is extensively useful, and in acute condition also you can administer this kind of Basti. In like in our clinic we are using the concept of Prasrutik Bastiya, and that 640 ml and sometimes Chatur Prasrutik Basti combination and Panch Prasrutik Basti combination we are using it. Charak Siddhistan 356 to 60, this Kafar condition. Specifically I am using the Patoladi Basti in various patients The patient is having, suppose we want to start the treatment and the patient is having extreme mandagni and aruchi condition. The patient don't want to take any kind of food and the patient is having severe aversion. Then this Patoladi Basti is extremely useful and you can use in your clinical practice in a wonderful manner. Like Patoladi Basti is going to reduce the mandagni and aruchi, and how you can start your patient and you can get a very quick result. This Patoladi and Panchamuladi Basti you can use. In the case of Pandu also, the patient is having all kind of Rasva Srotas Dushti condition. When we see the patient is having this kind of Etu Guru Shita Mati Snigdha Mati Matram Samshanat Rasvahani Dushyanti Chintana Mati Chintya, the stress condition, and along with that, the patient is having the Lakshanas of Aruchi Asava, then you can administer directly Panchamuladi and Patoladi Kapahar Bastiyan in that continuous 1 to 3, like 1 day, 2 day, and 3 day, like 1 to 3, as I mentioned in rules, the different school of thoughts, like from day 1 to day 3, you can administer directly Patoladi and you can get a very good result and wonderful condition of you can find in the reduction of Aruchi. I'm using this kind of Basti in some patients of a specific Kapha disorder. So you can you can have such kind of you can use such kind of Basti in that patient also. How much is the quantity of the Basti? That is also mentioned in Charak Siddhistan. But what I believe in nowadays, we are just administrating the 480 to 640 ml of the Basti in combination by following that rule, Makshikam Lavanam Telam Kalkam Kwatam Iti Kramat, this rule in which, and if you are not following that rule, then you can use this Patoladi as the direct reference and you can prepare that Basti and you can directly use it. The last is for the Dvindaj condition, for the Vata Javastha, for the Pitta Vata Javastha, for the Pitta Kapha Javastha, that combination doshas are there. When we see the broad spectrum Basti, that is Punarnavadi Niru and Rasna Irandadi Nilu, these are the two Basti which are mentioned in again Charak Siddhistan Dhyatin. These are the condition of like Sannipata Javastha and Dvanda Javastha. When the patient is having chronic disorder, along with not on the specific Vat Pitta Kapha Avastha, but as a combination of these two. So you can find these this Punarnavadi Niru. Next slide, please. Punarnavadi and Rasna Irandadi Niru. Rasna Irandadi Niru is having wonderful result in all my patient. I'm using it and continuously I'm getting very good result in the Dvanda Javastha, and like the patient is having Vat Kapha Avastha, the patient is having joint pain along with the swelling, and the patient is showing all the symptomology of Vat and Kapha combination, then Rasna Irandadi is having wonderful result. In the case of the Vat Pitta Javastha, some kind of inflammatory joint disorder is also there, then you can use Punarnavadi Niru. Charak Siddhistan Adhyay 3 again is having one more specific reference and school of thought. Like when you are we want to reduce the Vat, that is again a basic rule. Madhur and Ushna Dravya should be there, and some Sukoshna Basti must be administered, but it should be given in 1:1. Like alternate days, you should administer the Basti, as I mentioned. If you want to administer the Vathar Basti, then 9 to 11, that is alternate days Basti, you must mention, you must administer. For the condition of Pittaj, then Dugdha and Sheetal Dravya, as I mentioned the name of the Basti, like Chandanadi, Drakshadi, and Yashtiadi Basti. These are the 3 examples of these 2. Or then after 2, it means in continuation, you can give 2 Basti at a time. Like on day 1 and day 2, you can administer for the Pitta Javastha. You can give this Pitthar Basti for the day 1 and day 2 as well. For the Kapha Javastha, then in a row, 3 Basti you can administer at a time, like day 1, day 2, day 3, all Gomutra and Katu and Ushna Dravya Siddha Bastiyan, like which are mentioned, like Koshatkadi and Patoladi. These are the Basti you can use for day 1, day 2, and day 3 basis. Next slide, please. Next slide. The next slide, please. So what I am using in my day-to-day practice, I'm generally using the combination of Vat, Pitta and Kapha Basti. But in my most of the condition, like when we examine the patient head to toe, when we see that it is a Grathit Avastha or Avrodhatmak Samprapti, then we use in Avrodhatmak Samprapti, we use the combination of Vathar and Kapha Basti. So when we see the most of the practice, we are using the Rasna Irandadi and the combination of Punarnavadi. These are the two basti which we are using in mostly day-to-day basis in form of Yog Basti format, Karma Basti format, and Kala Basti format. These are the format which we are using for the day-to-day basis. The next slide, please. This is all already I have mentioned. In my routine practice, I'm using, as I told you, in the Yog Basti format is best in the selection for OPD basis. In my IPD condition, I am using the Irandamuladi, Ashyadi, Paruladi, and Rasna Irandadi. These are my routine basti which I use on the basis of the selection of the patient, on the basis of the dosh prabulbhav. Like the Alpa Dosha Vasta, we are using the Yog Basti format. For the chronic condition and the Bahu Dosha Vasta, and along with that, the Marma condition is also there, then we are using the Karma Basti format. And when the patient, these are the specialized basti which I am using routinely. The next slide, please. Next slide. Next one, please. Yes, these are the prastratic bastia. When we actually the organizing team has told me like today we are having most of the student community with us. So this is the most and easiest format of the basti which are mentioned in Charak Siddhistan Adhyay 8. When you see the Charak Siddhistan Adhyay 8, it is wonderfully mentioned like the very easy format of basti. When you see Panch Prasutik basti, it is nothing but the combination of Grit, Tel, and Madhu, that is Vata, Pitta, and Kapha combination. And along with that, the two Prasut Matra, they have given the Dugdha, Godugdha. These are the only 5 content, these are only 4 content in the Panch Prasutik. The 1 Prasut means 80 ml, 80 ml of the ghee, 80 ml of the Madhu, 80 ml of the 80 ml of the ghee, Madhu, as well as Tel, the 80 ml, and 160 ml of the Godugdha. It is a combination of Panch Prasutik which you can use in all kind of Vata disorder with the minimum condition, as well as I am using it in the bridal and groom packages because it is going to increase the Bal, Varn, and Shukra. When we see the patient, we are using in that way, like for the pre-bridal and pre-groom packages, we are using Panch Prasutik Basti very. And when you do not know what is the type of bath, it is obstructive pathogenesis or it is a degenerative pathogenesis. In general condition, you can start with the Panch Prasutik Basti. It is going to reduce all kind of bath as well as Pitta as well as Kapha. So when you see the composition of this Basti, it is clearly mentioned like Grit, Tel, Madhu, and Dugdha. These are the poor which is going to pacify Vat, Pitta, and Kapha. It is going to balance the body. So you can use this Basti. In Nav Prasutik Basti, again, the content are very easy and you can use it in your day-to-day practice. Chatur Prasutik, again, very easy. And you can start with the easiest patient and this is a wonderful thing. In this Prasutik condition, the rules of Basti, like you cannot travel a lot, you cannot sleep, you cannot, the Maha Ashtavarjikar Vishay can also be avoided. So this is the most important thing. Like in day-to-day practice, the patient are not following all the measures. But in this condition, then also you can start with this Basti. So I recommend that Charak Siddhistan Adhyay 8 must be read by all the students, and they can start this kind of Basti in a wonderful manner. Next slide. Next slide, please. The next slide, please. Yes, the Kushtagna Basti. When we see the Kushtadhyay, the Basti and the Shodhan Prakriya, Vaman and Virechan are indicated, but Basti are not indicated. But you see when the patient comes to you and that patient wants immediate result and the patient is not convinced for the Vaman and Virechan somehow, then we can start with this Panchatikta Panchaprasutik Basti, which is very easy. And it is mentioned in again Charak Siddhistan Adhyay 8. And you can start with the Kushtagna Basti, which can also be administered in the case of initial Pramey also. The pre-diabetic condition and all kind of skin disorders, so you can start with this Panchaprasutik, Panchatikta Basti in an easy manner, and you can start in that way. But when we go through the specialization and super specialization situation, as the earlier speaker told us, like for the Mustadi Yapan, we are using for the autoimmune disorder nowadays. And this Yapan Basti chapter is again very much, it is clearly mentioned the Yapan are the Yap disease, which are very difficult to treat. then you can use this kind of Yapan Basti in that patients. So Sahacharadi Yapan I am using nowadays for the Vat Kapha condition, for the all kind of disorder which are having swelling in all the joints and having severe pain. This Sahacharadi Yapan I am using. Mustadi Yapan I am using for the Pitta Kapha condition and mostly for the skin disorder and all the autoimmune situations. Baladi Yapan, as ma'am has also mentioned, she is using for the infertility cases, and I am using for the lumbago cases, especially for the Kati Shul and Kati Graya Avastha, as well as for the cardiac condition and cardiac blockages. I am using right bundle blockages. And for the next time, I will share my patient's conditions also and patient cases also in this. But this was the specific with respect to Charak Siddhi Sthan I am mentioning. That's why I'm just telling you which kind of basti you can use. Baladi Yapan is having 4 references, but the Baladi Yapan Vruti you must administer for the right bundle blockage. It is clearly mentioned. Like Hapushadi Yapan is also having, I'm using for the concentration improvement of the young patients, and for the irritability also I am using this Hapushadi Yapan. For the Vatraktavastha also, like for the initial Vatraktavastha and the Astigat Raktavastha, like the patient is having all kind of allergic condition and skin irritability, as well as for the chronic condition of the gouty arthritis also I am using this Hapushadi Yapan. The next, please. Next one. So what are the importance of basti which are mentioned in Charak Siddhi Sthan? Specifically for the Charak Siddhi Sthan, when we see, you can use the basti in all the situation of the body. Sarv Artharthi. All kind of benefit the basti is going to give, from head to toe. When you see from the for the hair fall also, for the dandruff also, for the eye disorder also, for the coloration of the body also, for the different fungal condition also, for the joint disorder also, for the chest disorder also, for the cardiac condition also, for the abdominal situation also, you can use basti in all the conditions. By using the yukti and some kind of direct references from the Charak Siddhi Sthan, you can easily treat and heal such kind of patient. So for my recommendation is this: you must read Charak Siddhi Sthan Adhyay 3, Adhyay 1, and Adhyay 8 and Adhyay 12. These are the 4 chapters which are very much they have a good ample of information how to start and how to give the basti in very initial patient as well as for the chronic patient. From 0 to 100, you can get all kind of information. For the complications, for the Shishu, Vriddha, Yuva, you can use the basti in all the situations. So, for all kind of disorder, as I have mentioned, like for the Vataj condition, for the Pittaj condition, for the Kafaj, for the Pitta Kafaj, for the Pitta Vataj, and like Sansar or Sannipatik Avastha, you can administer basti in very easy manner. Like Charak have mentioned in earlier, like Sutrasthan, like for the Yapya condition, what can be the result? What can be the treatment? The treatment can be only Yapan Basti, which are mentioned in Charak Siddhi Sthan 8 and Charak Siddhi Sthan Adhyay 12. These are the 2 big references for the different and the very much difficult condition like infertility and difficult like uncontrolled diabetes condition, blockages of the heart, and very much like chronic osteoarthritis and as well as inflammatory arthritis. You can use for the autoimmune disorder like psoriasis. You can use such kind of Yapan Basti also. So it is the most important thing is that when the patient is not having any kind of disorder, that patient want only the strength on the body, you can use the chapter number Charak Siddhi Sthan Adhyay 8 for the well-being and for the wellness. And for the Shukra Balprad, again, you can use the Charak Siddhi Sthan Adhyay 8 for the Balvarni and a Shukra, like Nav Prasotik, Panch Prasotik, and Chatur Prasotik Basti you can use. So this is my thought for the Charak Siddhi Sthan is having ample of information to use in your clinical practice. How can you start your clinical practice? And with the help of Basti, you can flourish your clinical practice. From last 10 years, I'm practicing and I'm basically treating my patient with initial and basic Basti also. Not having any combination of so many Vaman Virechan Basti combination. Only with the help of Basti, we can treat various kind of patient. Thank you so much for giving me such a wonderful platform to speak on. And again, I am very thankful for the Nanal Foundation for giving me immense good platform to speak and to be in contact with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Prashant sir, for informative session. Thank you so much. Over to Parvez.
Thank you, Dr. Sanket. Once again, a big thank you to Dr. Prashant sir. It was really amazing and very informative session, sir. So presently, I'm here to give a vote of thanks. So as we all know, on the occasion of 42th death anniversary of late Vaidyaraj Madhusudan Nanal sir, every year we celebrate Febcon conference, national conference. And due to COVID situation, since 2 years, we are not able to conduct it. But yeah, somehow we try to make it today on in a month of Feb. And I'm really happy that I'm getting an opportunity to give a vote of thanks. First of all, I like to thank Honorable Minister Dr. Bhagwat Karad sir, Finance Minister of our state. Today he was with us for the inauguration function of this conference. Also, I like to thank Vaidya Ashutosh Nanal sir, Vaidya Gunwant Yevla sir, Vaidya Anshu Mule ma'am, Vaidya Prashant Tiwari sir, Vaidya Esha ma'am, and Vaidya Bavdekar sir. All the sessions are very informative, very useful for all the students and practitioners who are here with us for this conference. Also, I like to thank all our delegates for patiently listening and getting informative about this session. Last but not the least, I just want to say that now we are concluding the Febcon 2022, and most importantly, that as our minister has announced about AugustCon 2022 in Goa. So I hope you all will be there. You're going to see various attractions, various proper lectures going to be there with very senior faculties members will be present for the lectures. And I hope all will be present for AugustCon 2022 in Goa. Once again, big thank you to everyone. Thank you.